All right, everyone, we're gonna get the meeting started. Hello? Hello, we're gonna get started. Got it. Hold on, sorry. We're gonna start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll get started with a roll call. That's you.
Okay. Mr. Baskell,
Here.
Mr. Silt,
Here.
Mr. Breeze,
Here.
Mr. Sheridan,
Here.
Mr. Antabelli,
Here.
your solicitors here and your township managers here.
All right. We are going to get started with our first application here, which is application Z 2024-32 from Mark A. Gilbert and David V. Gilbert. They are requesting a continuance for next month's meeting,
May 21st.
May 21st. I'll make a motion to approve the continuance to May 21st.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carries. Next up is application Z 2026-01. L Car Wash, Mid-Atlantic. Subject property is located 3599 Westchester Pike. The applicant is seeking special exception approval in accordance with sections 172-70L and 172-117B to allow car wash use in the C1 zoning district. The applicant also challenges the validity of section 172-117A. Applicant also requests relief from any of those sections of the zoning ordinance that may be realized during the zoning hearing process. Subject premise is located in the C1 zoning district. You want to come forward? We'll get anybody sworn in, but do we have anybody here before you say aye as a party protestant? And that means that you did receive a letter in the mail because you are impacted by this. If you received a letter, you're within 200 feet. So we'll get your names on the record and get them sworn in. So if you want, before you get started, just step up to the podium. You're going to say your name, your address, stay there, because then we'll swear everyone in one shot. So if you guys want to come up now. Just make sure the microphone's on.
Did not get a letter?
This is for people who did get a letter. They're actual party protestants, which means they received a letter. They have the ability to appeal the decision.
And Mr. Chairman, I'm Greg Edelman here on behalf of the applicant. I just asked that they enter their addresses into the record.
I said that. I said name and address. That's
Yes.
fine. Is your microphone turned on too? Oh, you're good.
Does it work?
All right. Is the microphone air lit up?
Yeah.
All right.
Jake Olympi, 3543 Rhodes Avenue.
Linpi.
Tom Trio, 3535 Rhodes Avenue, TRIO.
Kind of odd. My name's Eric Fedor. I live at 3539 Rhodes Avenue. Between these two guys, never got a letter. But I live between these two guys, so I reckon,
All right. Fine. We'll get your name on the record for now.
Thank you. F like fish, E, D like dog, O-R. First name's Eric with a C. Yes.
So anyone else will have the ability at the end of us hearing the testimony to give public comment. And we will most likely be giving a timer of 2 minutes so that everybody gets their time to get up and say their piece. But actually, we got everybody sworn in then.
No, they didn't swear.
Oh, let's do that. Do you guys want to stand back up so we can get you sworn in?
Yeah.
All right. All right, and before we get started.
Gentlemen, just, I'm Rich Sikora, as you know, I'm here on behalf of the township in opposition to the application.
I was gonna make my way over to, is the file in order?
The file is in order. You should have the legal notice that was sent to the paper as well as the letter. And then also our list of addresses that we sent a letter to. And then I think that's it for that. And then they have filled out the application and we have the proper documents for that as well.
Sam?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Based on the representation of the zoning officer, I'd ask that the application and accompanying documents that were forwarded with the application be marked as Township Exhibit Number 1, that the list of residents within 200 feet who are indicated by the notice that was provided to them be marked Township Exhibit Number 2. The proofs of publication of tonight's meeting published in the Delaware County Daily Times on 2 separate consecutive weeks be marked as Township Exhibit Number 3. And the picture of the posting of the subject property notifying everyone of tonight's hearing be marked as Township Exhibit Number 4.
They are admitted and right over to you.
Ready to go? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Greg Edelman here on behalf of the applicant. This evening, we're here for a special exception and challenge related to a redevelopment of the Rite Aid property on Westchester Pike. Is this picking up?
Does everybody hear him speaking?
Is this better? Do we have the hand mics? Would that be better? Or I guess I can just hold this up like a hand mic. I'm gonna have a witness that we're probably gonna wanna have too. That'd be great. Is that better? Yes, great. Thank you. Again, good evening. I'm Greg Edelman here on behalf of the applicant. We're here this evening for a special exception and challenge related to a redevelopment of the vacant Rite Aid property, 3599 Westchester Pike. The proposed redevelopment is to convert the building into a car wash owned by L Car Wash, who is the applicant. The property is approximately 2.21 acres in the C1 commercial zoning district. The specific relief requested this evening is under section 172-70.L, and the validity challenge is to section 172-117A9 as applied to car washes, which incorporates section 117A9 for automobile repair shops requiring noise not to exceed 40 decibels when measured at the property line at any time. I do have some pre-marked exhibits I'd like to go off the record, hand up to the board at this time, if I may. We go back on the record. Please let the record reflect I handed out a package of pre-marked exhibits, exhibits A1 through A10. A1 is a copy of the amended special exception application with the leases. Exhibit A2 is a copy of Catherine Weiss's resume. Exhibit A3 is an existing site aerial. Exhibit A4 is a zoning site plan dated April 7, 2026. Exhibit A5 is a zoning landscape plan dated April 7, 2026. Exhibit A6 is conceptual street view renderings. Exhibit A7, conceptual building elevations. Exhibit A8, conceptual building elevations with building materials list. Exhibit A9 is a copy of Kevin Savage's resume. And Exhibit A10 is the transportation impact assessment dated March 10, 2026. And copy of that is not a full copy. There's a lot of appendices. I'm going to give it to the court reporter for the full record. I didn't think you needed to see all the 600 pages of stats. And I'd like to direct your attention to Exhibit A1, which I believe is repetitive. The zoning board also introduced a copy of it, but it has the copy of the deed, the ground lease, and assignment of ground lease attesting to the applicant's standing to file and maintain this application. And if there's nothing further preliminarily from the board, I'd like to call my first witness to testify. Okay. I'd like to call Catherine Weiss to be sworn and testify. Do we have the ability to put it on the overhead?
I'm trying to get it
Yeah.
right. I'm working on getting it right now. My computer is frozen. As soon as I get it up, I will get it up.
All right, we do have boards we can set up as
Yeah,
well.
I'm trying to get it up there, but
Okay, we'll do.
for some reason, my computer is.
While
Give
he's,
us a
while
moment.
he's doing that too, I just want to make sure our three-party protestants are aware that you have the ability to cross-examine any of the witnesses that are brought up here. So once you're done asking your questions, you'll have the ability to ask questions as well, so. And Mr. Sikora.
Which way would you like us? I think,
If you want to put them over there, I feel like it's
Yeah,
better.
probably
for
to the
everybody.
are you a computer guy? No, I'm asking the one who's. Yeah, can't get anything to close and I can't get anything to open. Everything I go to. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to. Who's driving this? I was trying to go. We're working on it. If you want to start, and then as soon as I get it up, I'll tell you that I have it, and then I apologize.
So if we can go back on the record, at this time, I'd like to have Catherine Weiss sworn to testify.
I do.
Kate, please state your name and business address for the record.
Catherine Weiss, 1515 Market Street, Suite 1920, Philadelphia, PA, 19102.
And Kate, I'm showing you what I've marked as Exhibit A2. Is this a copy of your resume or curriculum vitae?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and I'd like the board to take notice of Ms. Weiss's expert qualifications as a professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and her experience in site planning, engineering, and design. I'd ask that she be accepted as an expert in civil engineering.
No objection.
Admitted.
Thank you. Kate, are you the project engineer for the proposed redevelopment of the site?
Yes.
Okay, and I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A3 in the packets. And I believe it's the board on the far right It's an existing aerial of the property. If you could please, for the board and the public, generally detail where the property is located, its existing conditions, how it's zoned, et cetera.
Sure. The site is located at 3599 Westchester Pike, State Route 3 and St. Albans Avenue in the Township of Newtown, Delaware County, Pennsylvania. The site is zoned C1 Commercial District. It's approximately 2.21 acres and presently developed as a Rite Aid retail store. The site is bound by primarily C1 Commercial District to the northwest and all the south, west, and east. And a small portion of the site is bounded by the R2 residential district to the northeast.
Okay, and did you go over how the site is currently accessed?
Sure. So currently the site is accessed. Is it helpful if I point?
Do we have a pointer?
Can I move up there or
Yeah,
point to the screen?
sometimes
So
we,
currently the site is accessed by Westchester Pike on the south. And that's a right-in. And then it's also accessed by St. Albans on the west.
thank you. I'd now like to show you what I've marked as exhibits A4 and A5. And for the record, A4 is entitled zoning plan. It is dated April 7, 2026, prepared by Dynamic Engineering. And exhibit A5 is entitled zoning landscape plan, also dated April 7, 2026, prepared by Dynamic Engineering. Did you prepare or supervise the preparation of both exhibits A4 and A5?
Yes.
Okay. And if you could, using either or both of those exhibits, and I think, which one do we have up on the board here? That's A5, the landscape plan here as well. And to the left would be the zoning plan exhibit A4, correct?
This is
There.
the landscape plan. That up there?
Oh, sorry, all right.
It's okay. And then the zoning permit plan is here. And this is a rendering of the zoning permit plan and landscape plan.
Okay, and if you could, using combination of those exhibits or the combined rendering, please describe for the board how the property is proposed to be redeveloped.
Sure. So the project proposes adaptive reuse of the existing building that's there today. So the existing building will be retrofitted with a proposed car wash tunnel and interior parking spaces for vacuums. The existing driveway along Westchester Pike is proposed to be closed. And a dedicated entrance is proposed to the north, as well as a dedicated egress is proposed to the south. So overall, the site is proposed to have clockwise circulation. So cars entering from the north along St. Albans and then turning into the site to Q and going through the drive-through, stacking, and then going through the car wash in the building. Cars then have the option to either make a right turn and go into the vacuum spaces or make a left and go out to the exterior vacuum space or exterior vacuum spaces, and then ultimately exit the site from the egress point along St. Albans.
Okay, is there a bypass lane in case you don't want to go through?
There's a continuous bypass through the entire drive-through.
Okay, but the circulation pattern for the car wash is it one way?
Correct.
Okay, and what's happening to the rear of the property as compared to the existing conditions and now what's proposed in the redevelopment?
So in existing conditions, the rear of the property is primarily paved with a parking lot. As part of this proposed development, the parking lot will be demolished and new landscaping will be brought in. There's a significant improvement and reduction in impervious surface overall. There's proposed landscaping to the north to create a consistent buffer, as well as landscaping on the west side along St. Albans and landscaping proposed along Westchester Pike.
Okay, and approximately what is the distance between the Rhodes Avenue curb line to the buffer or edge of the drive aisle?
A little bit less than 80 feet, about 79 feet.
And currently, right now, where is the paving go to on the existing conditions? Do you have an estimate?
Yep. Currently, the pavement goes to about within 5 feet of the property line.
Okay. Has the applicant developed any conceptual architectural elevations or designs as to
Yeah.
how the proposed redeveloped car wash will look?
Yes, yes, I have.
And if we can, I guess, turn to exhibits A6 and potentially A7 in the packets, and if you need some help changing the boards, I'll have to help you there.
I have the elevations. Do you want more?
Yeah. hold on.
Thank you.
Greg, I've been able to pull it up on the screen as well, and I'm sharing the document. So I'll try to stay with you as you walk through.
So Kate, looking at what's on the boards going left to right, left is the conceptual renderings, that's exhibit A7. And then the renderings are the ones, streetscapes are the ones in the center on the right, that's exhibit A6. The one on the left is A7. If you could please describe for the board where these are taken from, the vantage points, and what they show.
Sure. So I'm gonna start on the right. So this conceptual street view rendering is a view from the intersection of Rhodes Avenue and St. Albans Ave. We're looking towards the northwest corner of the building, and we're seeing sidewalk and green space at the rear of the property, as well as the screen plantings along the drive-through lane. One thing to note is that so from Rhodes Avenue, there's a fairly significant grade differential from Rhodes Avenue down to where the building is. And in addition to that grade differential, we've also bermed up the landscaping to provide a buffer. And then there's an additional 3-foot approximate drop from where that berm is down to the car level. So you can see from this view, you're seeing the upper portion of the building, but there's a good amount of screening for where the cars are relative to the stacking or queuing.
Approximately, I know it's conceptual, but approximately how much additional berm height are we talking about?
So the grade differential from Rhodes Avenue down to where the cars are it's close to about 6, 7, maybe even more feet from where you are on Rhodes Avenue down to where the cars are on the stacking lane.
Okay, and then in terms of the landscaping, this is depicting landscaping at what stage? Is it when it's planted, when it's grown? Do you know?
Somewhat mature, but not fully mature to its full potential.
Okay. And of course, is that something that would be more fine-tuned during the land development process or permitting process?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And if you could take us to the next streetscape rendering, please, the one in the center.
Sure. So this conceptual street view rendering is from a view from the intersection of Westchester Pike and St. Albans Avenue. It's looking at the southwest corner of the building and looking at the connection to the public right-of-way, as well as it's a little bit hard to see through the landscaping, but there are proposed parking spaces and vacuum spaces that are kind of screened by this area, as well as you can see the tunnel entrance that's on the right, where cars would be coming around, stacking, and then coming through the tunnel.
Okay, and that drive aisle that's in the front right corner of that portion of Exhibit A6, is that part of the bypass?
It's the bypass. So cars that are using the car wash operations wouldn't typically be using that. So it would leave that really open for, pedestrian use.
Okay, and I noticed looking at the architecture, is it generally similar to the building facade of the existing Rite Aid? I mean, it's not changing its structure much.
Right, so the actual structure height and massing is not proposed to change significantly. The existing Rite Aid canopy, which is in the rear of the site and closer to Rhodes Avenue, is proposed to be removed. And then the new canopy is proposed on the eastern side of the site.
And if you could, maybe it'd be helpful to start with A7 now, talking about those elevations each side of the building. If you could highlight some of those items, and then also generally describe the building materials that are shown on these renderings.
Sure. So the elevation views are from the southern, northern, western, and eastern facades of the building, from left to right. The south elevation, so this is the south elevation, and it shows the existing entrance that's there today, but how it's being, the facade is being modified, but the overall building structure is intended to remain. And you can see the tunnel entrance, as well as you can see, windows that are being incorporated into the facade, where the vacuum spaces are.
All right, and that's the first picture in the upper left-hand corner of Exhibit A7 you were talking about.
Correct.
Okay, so let's go to the next picture. You're going to the right.
Yep, so this is the north elevation. So you can see here, the tunnel exit and the access to the interior parking and vacuum aisle. As you can see, there are roll-up doors, which, close, right, for the vacuum spaces that can open and close. Same thing with the tunnel.
Now, before you go on to the next one, this is the view from where? The drive aisle internal in the site?
Correct, much closer, right where either the queuing is or right within that internal drive space.
So if I was standing on Rhodes Road, I wouldn't be seeing that view. I'd be
No.
seeing-
You can't even see the doors from that perspective view.
I'd
You
be
know, you're
seeing
looking
what-
at the very top portion of the building.
I'd be seeing more like what I saw in A6.
Correct, and you can, in this line, you can't even see the doors.
Okay, all right, so let's go to the middle picture on Exhibit A7. If you could please describe what's shown there.
So this is the west elevation. So you're actually standing in the parking lot, like in the parking area, and you're looking into the proposed vacuum spaces and towards the west facade.
Okay, and again, that's not what you would see from St. Albans.
No, I mean, even from the intersection, right, where there's a gap in the landscaping for the pedestrian access, you start to get screened there, but as you move west, you're gonna be on the other side of the landscaping.
Okay, and then let's go to the last picture that's on the bottom of A7.
So here, you're at the east elevation. You can see the 3 drive-through lanes, the building and the drive-through canopy, which is adjacent to the building, and the pay stations.
Okay, and do we have a list of general building materials that are proposed here at this point?
Yes, so you have this exhibit as well, correct?
And I believe that's A8.
Correct.
So if you could highlight just what's proposed at this point in terms of conceptual building materials.
Sure. So again, starting in the upper left, this tower area, the M6 and beyond, it's existing brick. M4, that's where start incorporating corrugated metal panel, which you can see the vertical panels. As we move our way east along the elevation, M6 here again, this is existing brick material. M8, which is the darker band around this space, is wood paneling. And then as you move internal to that, you've got M5, which again is an existing brick with a different color, slightly different gray or finish. And then you can see obviously the storefront windows, which have been incorporated. Let me see if there's anything at the entrance. I think it's also worth noting the existing score of the CMU, which is also going to be painted, more of a medium gray. So I think this whole color palette and material pattern continues itself around the perimeter of the building and shows up in different elements around the building.
And is it your understanding the applicant is still willing to work with the township on what this building will look like?
Absolutely.
And is it your understanding they've gone through multiple iterations already to come to this point?
Correct. Right. And both soliciting feedback and wanting to be able to provide materials and color palette that are consistent with the overall township goals.
So let's put back up the zoning plan or the overall rendering that you had. And then if you could join me back at the table as we go through some of the other aspects. So as part of your testimony this evening, preparing for it, did you analyze the specific applicable area and bulk regulations under section 172-71 of the C district?
Yes,
Okay, and basically testifying off of the site plan exhibit A3, let's go through each of those to demonstrate how the redevelopment complies. The first requirement under 172-71A is the front yard. Requirement is there should be a front yard on each street on which a lot abuts, which shall not be less than 20 feet in depth. Does the plan comply and how?
yes. So along Westchester Pike, so this site, right, in particular has 3 frontages, so we'll talk about each one. On Westchester Pike, State Route 3, the existing 80.7-foot setback to the building canopy is proposed to remain. Along St. Albans Avenue, the existing 86.8-foot setback to the building canopy is proposed to the building canopy is proposed to remain. Along Rhodes Avenue, the existing setback is proposed to be increased. So currently it's 145.1 feet. It's proposed to be increased to 162.1 feet. And that's with the removal of the Rite Aid drive-through canopy that's there today.
Okay, and I apologize, I mentioned the wrong exhibit. This is the A4, which is the overall site plan. The second regulation under 172-71B is building area. Requires the building area not to exceed 70% of the total lot area. Does the plan comply and how?
Yes, the plan complies. The proposed building area is well within the 70% maximum at 15.4% building coverage.
Okay, and then the next one, 172-71C, is the rear yard that requires the rear yard not to be less than 15 feet in depth. Does the plan comply here, and if so, how?
Yes, the proposed drive-through canopy complies, being set back 18.1 feet from the rear property line.
Okay, next one is 172-71D, height regulations. States that no building shall exceed 3 stories excluding basement or 45 feet in height. Does the plan comply, and if so, how?
Yes, the plan complies. The proposed building height will not exceed more than 3 stories. It's a 1-story building or 45 feet in height. The existing building and architecturals for the proposed project will be maintained at 26 feet, 10 inches approximately.
Okay. Next item is 172-71E, dealing with loading and unloading space. Is that applicable here? And if not, how is this being dealt with?
So loading on this site will occur in the drive aisle. It'll be during off hours and not in conflict with regular business operations.
Okay. 172-71F is dealing with parking spaces. And I think there may be some specific car wash criteria here as well, but if you could please tell the board, how does the proposed redevelopment comply with the minimum required parking?
Sure. So for car wash operations, the minimum of 25 parking spaces per washing unit are required, and that includes storage or stacking lanes. In addition, the parking spaces required per use, there's 1 parking space required for each employee on the largest work shift with no fewer than 2 parking spaces. So for this particular site, this proposed car wash, there's 1 washing unit. So 25 spaces are required per washing unit, total of 25. In addition, there will be 4 employees per shift and 1 space per employee is required. So that's a total of 4 parking spaces required for employees, which is a total of 29 spaces required. And we're proposing 29 parking spaces as well as 43 stacking spaces.
Okay. The next requirement is 17271G, which deals with minimum lot area. Does that apply here in this instance?
Minimum lot area?
Yeah, it says no building permit shall be issued in commercial districts with on-lot sewage disposal unless the minimum area of the lot for each family unit or for each store or for each combination of store and family unit in the building to be erected is 6,000 square feet. Are we on-lot sewage?
No, the project is proposed to connect to the municipal sewer, so this is not applicable, lot area is not applicable in this case.
Okay, and as I just mentioned before, there are some specific regulations for car washes under the ordinance. I believe it's section 172-117B. Did you review those as well?
Yes.
All right, so let's go through each one of those. The first one, and this is where you get into incorporating some other regulations as well, but it says that all provisions of subsection 172-117A, 2 through 6, and 9 through 12 apply here. Is that right?
Correct,
And that's for gasoline service stations.
correct.
So let's do A2 for gasoline service stations, which states all buildings shall be set back from the street rights of way by 40 feet. Service islands shall be set back 50 feet from all street rights of way to allow for the width of a car on the street sideline. We don't have any service islands, correct?
Correct.
All right. Do the buildings that are building that's proposed here, is it set back from the street right of way by 40 feet?
Yes, so we can walk through, but we've already talked about the setbacks. So from Westchester Pike, there's a setback of 80.7 feet. From St. Albans Avenue, it's 86.8. And along Rhodes Avenue, it's 162.1 feet.
Okay. A3 is all curb cuts for access driveways shall be not less than 25 feet nor more than 40 feet in width. What are the proposed curb cuts for the access driveways here?
So the proposed driveways provide for two 20-foot wide, a 20-foot wide ingress and 20-foot wide egress, both along St. Albans, which total 40 feet wide.
Number A4 says, except for access driveway openings where the curb shall be depressed, a raised curb shall be provided along all street frontages. Are we proposing raised curb?
Yes, anywhere where we're proposing curb to tie in, we're proposing a full height curb. And then for the majority of the frontage, we're not proposing curb improvements at this time.
Okay. A5 requires all access ways and paved areas shall be constructed to township road standards. Is the applicant proposing to construct all the road access ways and paved areas to township road standards?
Correct, the applicant will comply.
All right. A6 is, and I'm not sure if this applies, it says all permanently installed hydraulic hoists, pits, and all lubricating, greasing, washing, and repair equipment shall be entirely enclosed within the building. I guess the washing equipment may apply.
Yes, all washing operations, equipment, drying, everything occurs inside the building.
Going to A9, noise from repairs and other operations shall not exceed 40 decibels when measured at the property line at any time, and that's what the applicant has challenged. Is that correct?
Yes,
And will the applicant have a separate noise sound expert testify with respect to the decibels?
yes,
10 is any environmentally safe method of disposal of waste oils and other pollutants shall be provided. How's the applicant complying with that requirement?
In general, the soaps and solvents to be used are anticipated to be biodegradable. A water recycling system and oil water separator are proposed internal to the building as part of the overall plumbing system. And, cars are washed and fully dried internal to the building.
Okay. A11 is the sale of goods not related to motor vehicles is prohibited unless expressly authorized by the township as a conditional use, except for food, cigarettes, and drinks when served from not more than 3 vending machines. Is the applicant intending to do any of this as part of their application?
No proposed sale of goods is proposed, and the intent is to provide car wash and vacuum services only.
Okay. And then A12 is except for access ways The first 10 feet in depth along all street frontages shall be green area. Not less than 10% of the total lot shall be green area, complying with Article 25. How is the applicant proposing to comply?
The first 10 feet in depth along all street frontages are proposed to be green, as well as obviously to the north where there's significant more green space. And then the 10% requirement, so approximately 9,645 square feet of the lot area is required to be green area. The applicant proposes 42.8% green area on the property.
Okay. So now let's move back to the specific car wash requirements as opposed to the ones incorporated from the gasoline service station. So we're now at 172.117B2, which requires a minimum lot frontage of 150 feet along one street, a lot depth of 250 feet, and a minimum lot size of 37,500 square feet. And then it says the frontage may be reduced to 100 feet provided the lot layout plan has been approved by the township supervisors. How is the applicant proposing to comply with the minimum requirements?
So for lot frontages, all the existing frontages are proposed to remain. They all comply with the 100-foot minimum frontage. Westchester Pike is approximately 217 feet. St. Albans Avenue is approximately 392 feet, and Rhodes Avenue is approximately 251 feet. As far as the lot depth, the minimum is 250 feet. The existing lot depth is approximately 241 feet. For the lot area, the minimum requirement is 37,500 square feet, and the existing lot is approximately 96,446 square feet.
So is the existing lot depth an existing nonconformity?
Yes,
Number 3 requires the use to connect to public water and public sanitary sewers. Is the Rite Aid currently under public water, public sewer?
yes,
And is that proposed to be maintained for the car wash?
yes. I mean, obviously, we're in the process of working through serviceability, and if any upgrades to the services are needed, that would be coordinated through the land development process, and with the various utility authorities. However, the ultimate plan is to continue to maintain public sanitary and water service.
Okay, the next requirement, number 4, is that a one-way traffic pattern be on the property. And I believe you testified earlier regarding the one-way traffic pattern for the car wash. Is that correct?
Correct. One-way clockwise circulation is proposed for the drive-through car wash operation.
Okay, and then number 5 is an ancillary access way so that vehicles do not have to go through the washing facilities to reach street exits. Is that the bypass lane that you previously testified about?
Correct. There's a full bypass that's a minimum of 10 feet wide through the entire car wash stack.
Okay. So while it's not the applicant's initial burden under the law to discuss and prove the general special exception standards, did you also review those general
Yes.
standards under 172.13?
Yes,
All right, so let's go through each of them. 172.13A1 states that this application falls within the provision of this chapter, which accords the applicant a right to seek a special exception. And is this use permitted as a special exception under the zoning ordinance?
yes,
Okay. Number 2 is that the use is not prejudicial to the character of the immediate vicinity and will not have a detrimental effect on neighboring properties. First of all, again, is this a permitted use?
yes,
Okay, and with respect to being consistent with the character of the immediate vicinity, do you have an opinion that you would like to offer?
yes. The proposed car wash is consistent with the overall character of the commercial corridor.
Right, number 3, that the use is suitable for the property in question and is designed, constructed, operated, and maintained to be in harmony with and appropriate in appearance with the existing or intended character of the immediate vicinity. Again, this is a permitted use under the ordinance.
Correct.
All right, and do you have an opinion as to whether the use is suitable for the property in question?
Yes, it is.
And why is it suitable for the property in question?
So the property is zoned commercial, where banks, restaurants, and retail service shops are permitted uses. The adjacent uses to the north, along Rhodes Avenue, there's office and commercial uses. To the east, there's a retail strip and office use. To the south, you have Westchester Pike, Route 3, and a mobile fuel station, and Shopping Center Beyond. To the west, St. Albans. To the west, along St. Albans Avenue, you have Wistis Bank and other commercial uses.
Okay. Number 4 is that water, sewage, stormwater drainage, fire, and police protection aura can be provided for the use. And this is a redevelopment of a site. Have those services been offered previously for the Rite Aid?
Yes,
With respect to the water and sewer usage, what was your testimony earlier?
that we propose to tie into the public utility services.
Okay. Number 5, I think is similar to an early one, but it's that the use is physically suitable for the site and there are no topographical, soil, geologic, drainage, or environmental features which would cause the proposed development to adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the neighboring property or the township. Do you have an opinion as to whether the property complies and the use complies?
Yes, it's physically suitable. It was previously developed as a Rite Aid with the drive-through, and in fact here, we're improving the conditions by reducing impervious on site and adding significant landscaping to the overall site.
And generally, with respect to stormwater drainage, how does the applicant intend to manage the stormwater runoff on the site?
There's existing stormwater management infrastructure on site, existing basins, existing drainage conveyance. Obviously, we will comply with the township stormwater management regulations.
And the property is reducing its total impervious coverage?
Correct.
Number 6 is the use is consistent with the statement of community development objectives of the Township Planning Study adopted December 31, 1971, as amended and/or supplemented, including the revised comprehensive plan of December 27, 2001. Do you have an opinion as to whether the proposed application is consistent with number 6?
I do. So it is. So along Westchester Pike corridor, this has been designated for commercial use. The project is consistent with community development objectives of the Newtown Township Comprehensive Master Plan. Most notably, there's proposed increased landscaping. There's the addition of significant green space, specifically in the rear of the site where the existing parking areas are to be removed. It maintains sidewalk along all frontages. And there's also significant upgrades to the existing building facade in consideration of coordination with the township.
Now, there's some additional general standards under the statute, under section 17213C. Did you also review those standards?
I did.
All right, and I think there's 12 of them, so let's go through them as well. Number 1 is whether the use will substantially increase traffic congestion on streets to such a high degree of probability that it will adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. And will the applicant be calling a traffic engineer to testify with respect to that element?
Yes.
Okay. Number 2, increase the danger of fire or panic or otherwise endanger the public safety. Do you have an opinion with respect to number 2?
The building fire code requirements are being considered and will be incorporated into the overall design of the project.
Okay. Number 3 is whether the use will overcrowd the land or create an undue congestion of population. Do you have an opinion with respect to number 3?
The project is designed to appropriately accommodate the proposed operations for the use.
And will anyone be residing at the property?
No.
Number 4, you just testified to it, whether it will impair stormwater management or cause soil erosion?
No, the project proposes a significant reduction in impervious surface, and overall the project will be designed to meet the township requirements and county conservation district requirements, to meet the stormwater regulations and erosion sediment control regulations.
Number 5 is whether the use will impair an adequate supply of light and air to the adjacent property. Do you have an opinion with respect to that requirement?
Site lighting will be designed to comply with the township requirements, and if anything, be reduced from what's out there today where there's existing parking in the north area of the site, and lighting will be pulled back. And no adverse impacts are anticipated for air quality.
Okay. Number 6, 7, 8, 9, they're similar to the ones I think you testified to earlier. Number 6 is be consistent with the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Number 7 is be detrimental to other properties in the area. Number 8 is affect the character of the immediate neighborhood by failing to conserve the values of existing buildings and to encourage the most appropriate use of land. And number 9 is adversely affect community development objectives as set forth in this chapter. Your prior testimony with respect to the earlier standards apply to number 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Correct, and I think it's worth noting that in addition to that, the project does propose adaptive reuse of the existing building, which really aligns with 8.
Okay. Number 10 is whether the use will adversely affect off-street parking. Do you have an opinion with respect to that requirement?
No, yes, I have an opinion. I do not anticipate any adverse impact to off-street parking. The overall project proposes parking to accommodate for the car wash operations.
Okay. Number 11 is whether the use will substantially burden water, sewers, groundwater, schools, parks, and other public facilities. Do you have an opinion with respect to number 11?
Yes. So the project does not, will not be proposing. The project is not anticipated to create a burden on any of these items. I've already testified to it, but the project proposes to connect to the public sewer, public water, and there's no anticipated impact on groundwater, schools, parks, or other public facilities.
Okay, and then the last one's a kind of catch-all that says, it's number 12, otherwise adversely affect the public health, safety, morals, or public welfare. And is this use permitted under the zoning ordinance?
Yes, the use is permitted as a special exception.
I have no further questions for Kate at this time.
Mr. Score?
I do not have many questions, but I have a few. So you did say that you were not here to testify about sound from the car wash, correct? And there'd be a separate person to come in and testify about that?
Correct.
And similarly, you are not here to testify about the traffic and any increased traffic burden in the area. Somebody else will be testifying about that, correct?
Correct.
And so when you testified about there being no prejudicial effect to neighboring properties or detrimental effect to the health, safety, or welfare, or to the traffic patterns or anything like that, that's all with the qualification of you're not specifically talking about traffic and sound, correct?
Correct.
With respect to traffic, you did mention a couple times that there is a one-way traffic pattern on the site, correct?
Correct.
And I believe what you said is, there's that northern entrance to the east of the property up near the circle, correct?
Correct.
And then that traffic has to make a left, kind of go up above the immediate building area, right? And then wraps all the way around the building
Correct.
and then goes through the tunnel from the Westchester Pike side, correct?
Correct.
And then it comes out a tunnel up towards the north of the property facing roads, correct?
Correct.
And then I guess there's two options at that point,
Mhm.
which is the car can go back in, you can make a right and go back into the building for interior service,
Yes.
or it can make a left and go kind of a U-turn down to the left side of the property to parking areas or vacuums, correct?
Correct.
The, when the car is finished with that interior service, they come back out that northern side facing Rhodes Avenue,
Correct.
and then they would make a left towards the east side of the property,
Correct.
similar to the same traffic as they would make if they came right out of the wash tunnel and made that left, correct?
Correct.
And then they would actually be, those cars that are making the left are actually facing the entrance, correct? When they make a left out of the building?
It's offset from it. But yes, facing that direction. Yes.
So, if I may, just to be clear,
Rich, will you take the mic with you, please?
so this is the drive aisle, and you're saying it's offset because it's just slightly to the north here, correct?
Just slightly to the north, correct?
Okay, and then so there is a conflict here, is there not, for cars making a left here and cars making a left coming in?
No, there wouldn't be a conflict. The traffic that's coming from either the tunnel exit or the vacuum spaces is a controlled stop. And vehicles coming in from St. Albans have the right of way.
Okay, and so we're assuming, right, that the people who are going to this controlled stop, and everybody knows this is a private property, right? It's not enforced by
Yes.
the police on
it's-
property,
It's
right?
private property.
So people can come out of here to make a left while people are coming in to make the right, correct? I'm sorry, people can come out of the tunnel on the drive aisle from the exit, and they're gonna make that left turn down to this area
Correct,
to either go to a vacuum cleaner, a parking spot, or the exit.
or to
correct?
exit, correct.
And this car, now, assuming the car that's doing that sees the incoming traffic, this car is gonna come in that same direction and make that left, correct?
Correct.
And there's that spot right in the middle where they can meet, correct?
They could, but there is visibility to, to both directions.
Now, when a car does make that left and goes towards the exit, they could go beyond that exit to go down towards these vacuum cleaners and parking spaces, correct?
They could, and there's a turnaround space.
And then there's turnaround space, and they would actually have to come back up the opposite direction, right?
No, they would pull into the turnaround and then they would back up and then go the correct direction.
Okay,
The correct direction, north? Mhm.
okay, so meaning, once a car passes the exit, right? They're going to be in the bottom of this parking area and slash vacuum area, correct?
Yes, and they can either use the space or pull into the turnaround.
And then they have to actually turn around to go back north, correct? To leave the
Correct.
Property.
Correct,
And
yes,
as they're coming down, there's a car who wants to use this bypass. They would come all the way around the building towards the Westchester Pike area and then go north towards the exit, correct?
correct,
And that would be two-way traffic with anybody who is coming. So anybody trying to use the turnaround and come back up to the exit, or anybody trying to come south versus somebody using this bypass lane, there's going to be two-way traffic in that area.
there will be.
So just to be clear, with respect to the provision in the special exception criteria for car washes, 172-117B4, which requires a one-way traffic pattern on the property. It's not all one-way traffic pattern, correct?
Correct. There are portions that are two-way for the vacuum space use.
That's all I have.
Do any of our party contestants have any questions for the testimony that this witness gave?
Jake Olympi, Olimpi. Can you tell me the total number of vacuums on the property?
Sure. Give me 1 second.
Hey, Olympi, Olimpi.
21 vacuum spaces proposed.
Is that total vacuums? Because I saw 29 on the plan, so I was just gonna make sure.
No, so interior vac spaces, there are 9, and then exterior, there are 12. There's an additional 8 parking spaces on the west side that don't propose vacuums.
So it's a total of how many vacuums?
Interior,
in total? Just want to confirm, on a previous plan, I saw 30 vacuums, so I just want to make sure.
so at one time, those spaces on the west side proposed vacuum spaces, but they have since been removed.
So it would be a total of 12 exterior vacuums.
So 15 vacuums on the east side where the parking spaces are, along 12 total spaces.
These individual units?
The vacuums?
Yes.
Yes.
Where they go to, are they fed to a larger unit?
They're fed to so they have a vacuum producer, which is exterior to the building. There's one that feeds all of those exterior vacuums.
Is there any planned attenuation for these vacuums?
We can have another witness speak to that.
We don't know that in terms of construction wise, if there's a planned unit to attenuate the sound from these.
Yes, there's going to be another witness who will address those issues.
Okay. Can you describe the species of the trees that are being planted?
Sure, we can walk through them. Couple of landscape
It's Exhibit A5.
So for deciduous trees, there's a total of 4 proposed, and they're skyline honey locust. As far as evergreens go, there's a total of 37 of those. Moonglow juniper, Burke eastern red cedar, Idlewild eastern red cedar, Taylor eastern red cedar, Norway spruce, green giant, arborvitae. And then there are 19 ornamental trees proposed: river birch, the rising sun eastern redbud, scarlet Firecusa dogwood. Again, that was a total of 19. And then those are the leaves. Do you want to get into the shrubs or
No,
grass?
that's fine. Do we know how many of those trees are deer resistant?
I don't know here, but I know the applicant would be absolutely amenable to accommodating deer-resistant species, as part of the overall land development process.
Concern is that these are all planted and then deer would come by and make sure they're not planted anymore.
Understood.
Yes. Do you know the number of blower units for the dryer? Blower units?
Yeah, and then that would be something another witness can testify to.
But in terms of construction, you could not tell me how many there are.
She is
Another
not the
witness.
witness who would answer that question.
I'm a civil engineer.
Gotcha. Yeah. Not in the plans at all, just, okay. And will there be any exhaust system for the tunnel?
Again, that's architectural. It's beyond her testimony.
When will that witness be testifying?
We can have a witness testify to that as to the building construction.
That'd be great. My other question is, in terms of the entrance and exit, which direction can the cars turn once they exit the property?
So it's a full movement, so they could go left or they could go right.
They can go left once they exit the property, back on the Westchester Pike?
They can. The exit is intentionally located, and our traffic engineer can also testify to this, but it's intentionally located to be aligned with the full movement driveway on the opposite side of the street, and to be at a location that's beyond the queuing, the left turn lane restriction.
Have you ever tried to make a left from that property?
That's not for her testimony.
I'm just asking a question there. Great. I have one more question, but seems to have, what are the hours of the business?
Another witness will be talking
Great.
about the.
And you specified earlier that drop off will be not during business hours. What time would this drop off be?
You're referring to loading?
Yes.
Well, we can talk about the operational hours through the other witness, and then that would be during.
Okay, I was just, this witness testified as to that it'd be dropped off I was just hoping,
Right, and during non-business hours.
gotcha, great, thank you.
Next witness?
I have a quick question.
Sorry.
Um,
no.
Does the design contemplate a detailing area on the space?
A detailing area?
Car
Like,
detailing?
no,
So it's strictly car wash, there won't be any
Correct.
side detailing of those vehicles?
no, car wash, vacuum usage, cleaning, for individuals to do their own cleaning out of their car, but no detailing
Is
operation.
there any distinction between the vacuums on the interior versus the vacuums exterior?
No, just that in in an area where you have colder weather, giving that optionality for customers to be able to clean their car inside, whether it be a rainy day or cold weather, to be able to have that, is an amenity that can be offered here because of the reuse of the building.
And is there parking spaces? Did I hear you say parking spaces on the interior as well?
Correct. So the parking spaces are where the vacuums are placed. So someone pulls into the parking space that's utilized to be able to.
So
vacuum
you're
out.
counting a parking space as a vacuum space?
Correct.
And will there be office space as well?
Yes, there's a small office space, to be able to account for the employee operations.
And the payment system, is that going to be on the exterior by digital equipment, or will it be someone manning the payment?
We have another witness who can speak to that.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not sure, is he a party?
Yes.
Yeah. he-
No, I'm just one guy.
Oh, no.
No.
I might look like a party, I might be the size of a party, but.
You,
Sir.
you didn't, you came up.
Yeah, I live
earlier
at
and you-
3539 Rhodes Avenue in
You live-
between these other
Yeah.
two guys.
Just checking.
He's,
Yeah, that's, if you were paying attention in the beginning, when I got
come
sworn
on,
in.
let's.
Sir, I'm
Here's the
not being
thing,
sarcastic.
before we go down that road, we
Okay.
are gonna keep it respectful. We're aware of the whole issue here,
Yeah.
but you do
I
have.
was
to be-
questioning my right to be up here and.
Well, no, you wanted to make sure that you were an actual party protestant because they're the ones that are eligible to come up and
Okay,
ask.
all right.
It's
But that-
hearing, it's an
Sorry,
evidentiary
sorry,
hearing.
I beg your pardon.
I'm not making any aspersions or any casting any doubt to who you are and what you, I just need to know.
All right, let's move on.
There you go. Eric
Thank you.
Fedor,
Thank you.
last name's Fedor. F like fish, D like dog, OR. 3539 Rhodes Avenue in the township of Newtown. I'll start off with this, because I heard.
Just before you get started, I just want to make sure you're just asking questions for this witness, right? Just to cross-examine her testimony? This isn't a.
Yes.
These are
I'll
questions
get to
for
it.
the witness that's up here right now, and you'll be able to come
Yes,
back
the
up.
witness that's up there right now said that this development is consistent with the neighborhood. I've got 68 people here that disagree.
I'm going to object. That's not a question of the witness. It's an evidentiary hearing. You have to ask her questions. You're allowed to make
It's-
public comment later.
Which is fair. That is.
I object. It was a comment. It wasn't a question of my witness.
Turn to.
Okay, you testified that this construction is consistent with the neighborhood. Correct?
Correct. That the
Okay.
Proposed project, the use is consistent with the neighborhood and the commercial corridor along Westchester Pike.
But St. Albans Circle I'm gonna get jammed up here. I just know I am. You know what?
You're fine. Just ask questions based on what she said. This isn't, there will be a time obviously for public comment, but for now, it's just if you have questions.
Yeah, well, this
based-
is mostly gonna be public comment because this is all well researched and they have all their,
Understood.
Ps and Qs in a line and, I certainly cannot debate with the civil engineer over what they researched, what they had and whatnot,
Understood. If I can,
And-
give
and so-
advice, if we have people that are up here giving testimony, if you don't like something they said and you have a question about it, make a note. You're gonna have the ability to come back up and ask those questions.
You know,
This
I'll-
is-
Yes, I'll defer
You
to
can
that.
also testify at a later time as well,
Yeah.
so you'll have an opportunity once they.
I'll
they
I'll
close
wait
their
for the
case.
public comment.
Well, but it doesn't have to be public comment. Once they rest, you can present a case on your own and make any statements you like for the record. So
Okay.
we don't want to prohibit you.
That's correct.
Oh, no, I understand, but you know, what I have to ask and comment on is not a direct response to
All right.
what she
Yeah,
said
then we'll be
Be
regarding
heard at a
township
later,
code and
at a
whatnot.
later time is what
We'll
I'm
come
trying
back.
to-
Exactly, and I'll stick
Okay.
around for that. Thank you, sorry.
Yep. Does anyone from the board have any questions for this witness?
I have one. So in your, sorry about that.
Mm.
In your testimony, so if I go back to, I think it was, the 172-117 where we, cited the, items A2 through 6. One of those was all curb cuts, access driveways shall not be less than 25 feet or more than 40. If I recall correctly, in your testimony, you said they would be 25 feet. So I would just ask you to, I'm sorry, 20 feet. So I would just ask you to, restate that, because if it's 20 feet, I don't think it met the criteria for the, not less than 25 feet, unless I heard that wrong.
Correct. So the two driveways, the ingress and the egress, are both proposed to be 20 feet wide for the actual driveway.
Okay. And the requirement is that they're at least 25, but not more than 40.
Correct.
Thank you.
I had a question on the size of the parking spaces. What is the proposed size?
So the proposed parking spaces are 12 feet by 20 feet, which exceeds the minimum size requirements.
You know what the role, so you're saying there's gonna be 4 employees there at all times?
Correct.
So what are the roles of those 4 employees that,
We do have a witness for.
That's fine.
Carl
All right.
will
All
add
good.
additional- Just please remember, like, we'll come back and
Yep.
if we forget, please remind us.
we will?
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
That's, do you have? All right.
I do have one, just because of the curb cut issue, I just have not that it's not correctable, but so you're reading one 172-117A3 with respect to curb cuts.
Correct.
It says all curb cuts or access driveways shall be not less than 25 feet nor more than 40 feet in width. And you're reading that, and again, I'm sure you don't care if you have to cut an extra 5 feet, but you're reading that as saying all total, they can't be less than 25 feet nor more than 40 feet, as
Correct.
opposed to each individual curb cut.
Correct.
And I mean, is there a reason you're reading it that way versus the other way?
Well, we could make them larger, but I don't know that we want them larger. Or the township wants them larger.
I'm not suggesting the township does, but I mean, I think if, you can make them larger. I mean, we should, before this hearing is over, if somebody's going to give relief, it should probably be clarified as to whether that complies or doesn't comply, or whether you have to comply with the other standard, or you'd have to come back. Okay.
Correct.
May I ask a couple of redirect?
I have a question, couple of questions.
Go ahead.
Greg,
Please,
thank you.
go ahead.
Have you, as a civil engineer, previously served as an expert testifying on behalf of car wash facilities before?
For car wash facilities?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah. How many?
one,
One. Where?
Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay. As part of that, or as part of this preparation, and maybe it's another witness, did you attempt to make any determination as to what the amount of usage by cars would be of the facility during peak business hours?
Yeah, so we have another expert witness who can speak to that. My purview is not traffic.
It's not traffic, but you talked about, you were asked questions about public health and safety and welfare. And I'm just concerned about the amount of vehicular traffic that's utilizing the systems based upon past experience and knowledge and trying to get a sense of what that might be. And you're not able to do that for me? You're suggesting somebody else will?
Well, I lean into my traffic engineer to assess the site, to study counts within the community, right? So they go out and they actually do traffic counts at nearby intersections. They collect data from the specific user, so El Car Wash in this case, they pull that representative data and they do an analysis to document, the impact, potential impact in the community.
Correct.
And so, I can say that as part of that traffic study, there was no detrimental impact. And so that much, yes, I'm aware of based on, the work that my traffic engineer has done. Do I perform that or do I, work through that in detail? No, but I'm aware of that.
But yeah, I'm not expecting to go out and do the traffic count. All I'm trying to do is get a sense, and it might be somebody else.
Yeah.
Is get a sense of how much this community can expect when at peak time,
Yeah,
probably rush hour, on St. Albans, which is a bypass road around Route 3 and 252, how many cars they can expect to be going in and out of this new car wash facility.
And we do have a traffic engineer who's done that analysis. We also have El Car Wash's representative who can give you the typical anticipated customer usage of the
Right.
facility.
But I hear her saying things about the public safety and welfare. And to me, that falls in that category. If she's not comfortable, I'll ask the next person.
That's right.
Who's the next person? So I'll know when they
The
come.
next person is the traffic engineer.
And
So
what's his name?
and his name is Kevin Savage.
Okay.
And just so the board knows, there are different criteria that will be testified to by different witnesses, and then all together, the witnesses satisfy those standards. So not one witness, I don't think, I've never seen it, can testify to all the different standards that are under an ordinance. No,
Not
I've
asked
never
her.
seen it, right?
Right.
If that was a one witness, please let me know. I'd like to use that person for hearings.
Vince? No.
Yes, he has done that.
Just one other area, ma'am. You say this project will not be a burden on disposal of of waste. How much waste is generated that goes in the sewer system? How much waste is generated by one of these facilities?
yeah, so a majority of the water that's used goes into what you call a reclaim system or recycling water system. So the water gets cleaned and then circles back through the car wash operations.
Okay.
And so as part of, our overall land development application, we will be providing sewer demand calculations to utility authority to confirm that there is capacity, for the car wash. I mean, we've reached out for preliminary will serve letters of serviceability to share, that information, but the overall sewer and water demand is not, it's not, it's within reasonable amounts for a commercial use, so.
But what is it?
I don't have those exact
I
calculations.
mean, if you say it's reasonable, I'm just curious, I'm trying to figure out, because I don't, have you spoken to the township's municipal authority to find out what kind of capacity you're going to need to service this facility?
The Township Sewer Authority, Mike, does not give us will serve letters, nor will they give us any opinion with
They
respect.
don't do
to-
that anymore?
No, they do not. I was just here on Monday talking about, as Mr. Sikori will subscribe, that I'm not able to get will serve letters out of the authority anymore, or indications of sewer demand until we get into sewage facilities planning.
So I was too nice to you back in the
You were
day?
way too nice.
Okay.
So, but we can get the information on anticipated demands if that's something the board. is-
Well, I mean, the testimony was that it's not a burden, but if you're saying it's not a burden, you have to have some basis to draw that conclusion. And I'm trying to figure out what your basis was to draw that conclusion.
We can have either the operational person or a sewer expert come and provide the additional information based upon anticipated usage.
So we do need you at a microphone and they're in the middle, we'll get you back up there.
I'm not sure if Mike had any more questions on sewer. I understand his question. We can get you the information.
Okay.
Is there any DEP requirements, any permitting requirements from E DEP?
Ultimately, NIPD's permit may be required, based on disturbance, but we expect to meet any of the requirements that are gonna be needed for whether it's sewer planning or, disturbance threshold. So we will be meeting, all permitting requirements with local, state, federal jurisdictions
That would include
as part of the land development
highway
process.
occupancy permit from PennDOT?
Correct, yeah.
And Sam, were you focusing on water quality? Is
Yeah.
that where you're?
Yep.
So it'll be a water quality question in terms of the runoff that comes
Exactly.
off of the system.
Exactly.
And here, right, we've mentioned it before, but there's a significant change in cover from reduction in impervious to bringing in landscape, green space, which really helps from a stormwater management standpoint.
But will there be any impact on the stormwater from the berm that you described that's higher on the Rhodes Avenue topography toward the building?
No, actually, the site from Rhodes Avenue down drains in, and we're continuing to maintain that drainage pattern. So Rhodes Avenue, I mentioned it in my testimony, but it's higher in elevation, and we're respecting that grade differential. So the drop off close to the drive aisle, while it drops about 3 feet, the entire area drains down into the site. So there's nothing proposed to push out to Rhodes Avenue.
So are you, as part of your storm water management, are you going to have a retention area at all?
So there are 2 existing basins that are on site now. There's a rain garden within the landscaped area that's between the internal access drive, where you come out of the car wash tunnel, and where you can access the interior vac spaces between that access drive and the queuing. There's an existing basin there today, and then there's also an existing below-grade basin in the southern portion of the site that's proposed to remain.
That will compensate for any excess water, or stormwater, excess water result of any operations in the,
Yes, overall, the site is gonna have a drastic reduction in runoff because of the change in cover. And, for the car wash operations, the cars are washed and dried within the building.
is there any impact to the sanitary sewer system?
No, we will be using, public sewer to be able to discharge, restrooms, right, in the space, the office space. And then ultimately, there will be an oil water separator, as part of the overall plumbing system to be able to make sure that that doesn't go into the public sewer.
Okay, thanks.
Do you know how many EDUs that was there at the, how many have already been dedicated to that property?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head.
I'm trying to remember since I did the approvals.
Yeah.
I think it was 3, but I'd
Okay.
have to go back and check again. Yeah.
All right, that's all I have.
Mr. Olympia, you had a question? Just
to
if you go, just go back up to the podium. We just need you for the microphone.
There's been a significant increase in costs to the residents in the municipality for sewer. I just want to make sure that this doesn't get added on to that, the sewer costs. The residents shouldn't be eating the cost of a business putting in a business that uses significant water. So,
Yeah, as far as we know, there's no change in rates as a result of this proposed use in either water or sewer. The rates should stay the same. They won't be impacted by this use. That's something independent, the authority measures.
Any additional questions for this witness?
May I ask a couple of redirect questions now? Great, thank you. Kate, and Mr. Sikori's questions with regard to the circulation for the property. Did you focus on the circulation of the cars going through the car wash as being one way?
Correct.
And once they've left the car wash, you had mentioned there'd be more than one type of circulation.
Correct.
So did you interpret the ordinance then for the one-way circulation pattern to be related to the specific car wash use?
Yes.
With respect to the width of the drive aisles. I think Mr. Sikori was getting to that on his additional questions. The requirement is that it be not less than 25 feet and no greater than 40 feet. Is that correct?
Correct.
And as a civil engineer, what is basically the minimum two-way drive aisle width under most ordinances?
24 feet typically, or 25.
Okay, so is it your interpretation then that that section 172, 117A3 is designed for a full movement two-way access?
Correct.
And is that why your testimony was 20 feet coming in and 20 feet coming out satisfy the requirements?
Correct.
With respect to some of the water quality questions that the solicitor was asking, if required as part of your stormwater permitting, would the applicant install snouts or other types of water quality measures at the stormwater basins?
Yes.
And what would those types of inlet filters do or provide?
Yeah, so the inlet filters or snouts, right, they can provide a point source water quality treatment. So inlet filters can be installed in an inlet where the inlet grate can be removed, and you can easily access debris. You know, if any trash were to get into the filters, it can be removed. They can be maintained, and a snout that can also provide pretreatment for sediment to be able to settle, for any floatables to not go into the downstream sewer network. And so those can be proposed to be able to create a place for the applicant, the ultimate operator of this site, to be able to provide regular maintenance for water quality.
I have no further redirect at this time, but I'd like to reserve the right to recall this witness on my direct at a later period.
All right.
And at this time, I'd like to call my next witness.
Thank you.
Kate. Please to call Kevin Savage to be sworn to testify. Got it.
You. Correct, SAVAGE.
Kevin, if you could please state your name and business address for the record.
Sure, it's Kevin Savage. Business address is 1515 Market Street, Suite 1920, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19102.
And by whom are you employed and in what capacity?
I am a principal at Dynamic Traffic.
I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A9. Is this a copy of your resume?
Yes.
Are you a licensed or registered professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
Yes.
I'd like the board to take notice of Mr. Savage's expert qualifications as a licensed civil engineer and his expertise and concentration in traffic engineering based upon his experience. I'd like to offer him as an expert in traffic engineering.
Any
No
concerns? Submit it.
Great, thank you very much. Kevin, are you the traffic engineer for the proposed redevelopment?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I'd like to show you what I've marked as Exhibit A10, which is entitled Transportation Impact Assessment. It's dated March 10, 2026, prepared by Dynamic Traffic, and I think your signature's on that page. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So did you prepare or supervise the preparation of this traffic impact assessment?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and just as an overview, what did you review and analyze in the traffic impact assessment, and then what did you conclude?
Sure. So as part of our work on this project, we prepared this transportation impact assessment. And as part of that, we had a chance to review the traffic impact of this proposed development. So just to kind of take, the board and the public through a high level overview of what that entails. First, we collect existing traffic counts along the site frontage and at nearby intersections. Specifically, we took counts at the intersections of Westchester Pike and St. Albans Avenue. Along St. Albans Avenue and at the St. Albans Circle. Once we had those existing traffic volumes, we performed observations to understand any, potential queuing issues that were already occurring today. And then from there, we look to project these traffic volumes into the future. So we typically project them, 2 years into the future. We add any approved or under consideration adjacent developments in the township, of which there were a number, to develop what we call no-bill traffic volumes. So this is an estimate of what traffic volumes will look like, you know, a couple of years into the future. From there, we surcharge site-generated trips from this proposed development on top of those no-bill traffic volumes to generate what we call billed traffic volumes. So one, you know, no-bill traffic volumes are without the development a couple of years into the future. The billed traffic volumes are what we project as a representation of future traffic volumes with this development added. From there, we perform an analysis of both no bill to build conditions to understand if there's any, you know, substantial increases in delays, levels of service, any negative impacts on the adjacent roadways of the system with this, you know, additional traffic volumes and additional trips. What we found is there were really minimal increases in delay at those, you know, studied intersections. Really, you know, minimal change from those no build conditions, and any increases in delay fell within PennDOT's, you know, allowable range for, you know, increases with additional development. Additionally, there was some discussion in regards to the egress site driveway. As Ms. Weiss had mentioned, that was located specifically along St. Albans Avenue in order to allow both left and right turning movements from the site. Primarily to avoid, you know, every egressing vehicle traveling through the St. Albans Circle, which is the case today. So, you know, everyone from the existing site needs to make a right turn out, proceed around the circle, even if they're, you know, making a U-turn or a left turn onto Westchester Pike. So the driveway was located to allow that left turn out movement to occur to avoid the need for every vehicle to travel through St. Albans Circle. Specifically during the weekday afternoon peak hour, we did observe, you know, some substantial queues along St. Albans Avenue, backing all the way up to the circle in some cases. So in that case, you know, a vehicle making a left turn out would either need to wait for a courtesy gap, or the signal at Westchester Pike and St. Albans Avenue operates on about 120-second cycle. So, you know, someone waiting to make a left turn out might need to wait for that queue to clear, you know, once the signal turns green, and then make a left turn out. So there's a substantial amount of green time. 33 seconds is dedicated of that 120 to the St. Albans Avenue approach. So, you know, what we found is that even though the queue may back up to the circle, it did clear with every cycle.
Talk to me about the anticipated trips that are be generated by the proposed car wash, and whether they're similar for a similarly situated car wash on the property, whether anything's abnormal or not.
Yeah, so as part of the trip generation, we look to data published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers. This is a national or international body that collects and collates trip generation data for various uses across the country. So that, you know, we look to that manual and which is accepted by PennDOT and various state agencies to determine the projected number of trips that would access the site during each of the weekday morning, weekday evening, and Saturday midday peak hours.
Okay, and I'm directing your attention to page 10 of Exhibit A10, Table 4. Is that the trip generation table that you compiled?
That is correct.
And if you could please highlight that for the board, what was determined as a result of using the ITE trip generation data for a car wash?
Sure. So one thing just to mention here, these are, the total here is trips. So one vehicle that enters the site, goes through the car wash, and leaves the site technically counts as 2 trips. So during the weekday morning peak hour, IT projects approximately 100 trips or 50 vehicles accessing the site. During the weekday evening peak hour, that's about 160 trips or 80 vehicles. And during the Saturday midday peak hour, that's about 200 trips or 100 vehicles.
And how does that compare to what ITE would have calculated or does calculate for the existing pharmacy use?
Yeah, and this is represented on Table 5, which I believe is page 11 of the exhibit. So we did not have a chance to perform traffic counts at the existing Rite Aid while it was in operation. But again, we looked to ITE data
based on the square footage of that, pharmacy would drive through to determine what we would expect it to generate during those peak hours. What we found is during the critical peak hour, with the highest volumes along St. Albans Avenue, the weekday evening, the change in trips was very minimal between the existing pharmacy and the proposed car wash. There was an increase in trips during the weekday morning of about 40, and an increase in trips during the Saturday midday peak hour of about 75.
And what did you determine with respect to the future capacity of the intersections that you studied, taking into account the additional traffic that ITE would say would be generated by the car wash?
As I mentioned, there were, minimal changes to the existing levels of service, no levels of service and delays with the addition of the site-generated trips from the car wash.
And could you be a little more definitive as to what you mean by minimal changes?
Changes in overall level of service of approximately 2 seconds or less, which, as I mentioned, remain within PennDOT's allowable degradation for new developments, which is typically 10 seconds is where they require a development to mitigate level of service impacts.
And was that for all peak hours?
Yes, that's for all peak hours.
With respect to the access in and out of the site, did you conduct a site distance analysis?
Yes.
And what did you determine with respect to the safety and efficiency of the ingress and egress to the property?
So we found that adequate stopping site distance was provided for those 2 access points. The Newtown Township Saldo does require a minimum of 300 feet, which is, the desired site distance from the egress driveway. We found that not to be met looking south towards the signal, just because of the, distance from that driveway to the signal. But again, that is run typically using a 25-mile-per-hour speed, whereas any vehicle, traveling onto St. Albans Avenue would be needing to make a turn, left or right turn onto St. Albans Avenue and likely traveling at a lower speed. Additionally, it still did meet the minimum stopping site distance of about 150 feet, which is typically what PennDOT requires in order for that access to be allowed.
What were your overall findings and conclusions with respect to the proposed car wash, whether it will or won't substantially increase traffic congestion on the streets to such a high degree of probability that it will adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the community?
In my opinion, and based on the results of our analysis, I do not believe it will substantially increase traffic congestion on streets to such a high degree that it will adversely impact the health, safety, and welfare of the community.
I have no further questions for Mr. Savage at this time.
I have some. Mr. Savage, so I believe in your report, you explained that the land uses along St. Albans Avenue and Rhodes Avenue in the vicinity of the project area are a mix of commercial and residential, correct?
That is correct.
And currently, right now, with the old Rite Aid building there, there's a right turn only entrance from Westchester Pike into the site, correct?
That is correct.
And that is eliminated with the proposed redevelopment, correct?
Correct. That entrance is proposed to be closed.
And when you were looking at that chart comparing the trip generation of the car wash compared to the Rite Aid, I think you said it was not a significant increase, but I think it's page 11 of your report.
Correct. Table 5.
Yep. So when we're looking at just at total trips, the net change for Saturday peak street hour was 74, right?
Correct.
So that's 74 more trips, meaning in and out being
Yeah,
Two trips.
37 more vehicles.
37 more vehicles from what? From what, how many vehicles before was projected?
So the projection for the existing pharmacy is 132 trips, or about 66 vehicles. So it would be an increase of 74 trips, or about 37 vehicles on top of that existing pharmacy.
So a 50% increase?
Give or take, yeah.
Can we not do that? We're
Well, that's what you're saying, right? Is you're saying it's going from 66 with the Rite Aid and 37 more, correct?
Correct,
Approximately,
yeah.
yeah.
A tiny bit more than 50%, but,
Okay.
yeah, around 50%.
So 50%, whether that's minimal or modest or substantial, I guess the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? It's around 50% more.
Correct.
And those trips, when you're looking at the old Rite Aid use, those trips also include some of those inbound trips being from Westchester Pike, right?
That's correct.
So all traffic now has to go on St. Albans, right?
Correct.
So it's not only for the impact on the St. Albans area or the circle, it's not just the increase in the number of trips altogether, but it's also an increase in the number of trips because we're shifting some from Westchester Pike onto St. Albans. Correct?
Yes.
So that would be more than 50% impact on St. Albans and the circle, correct?
So as it relates to St. Albans Avenue, I agree. The circle itself, as I mentioned, the existing access point requires all vehicles to turn right out to enter the circle. So every single vehicle that needs to, or would have needed to exit the Rite Aid would need to make a right turn onto St. Albans and travel through the circle. The addition, the relocation of that egress driveway a bit further south does allow the left turn movement onto St. Albans to avoid, a large percentage of those egress trips needing to travel through the circle.
Now, I understand you're using that ITE manual, I think you called it, to project
Correct.
to project the trips that used to occur from the pharmacy
Yes,
and the trips that likely will occur from the car wash, correct?
correct.
Have you used actual numbers from other car washes of this brand, of this model, in your report?
We have not in our report, no. And
So,
I would note that we did provide that table 5 trip generation comparison, but our analysis assumed the Rite Aid was not operational. So we essentially took the analysis for the no vote conditions was there's nothing on this property, and the build conditions was the car washes on this property. So that table is provided for a comparison, but we essentially surcharged the entirety of the car wash trips onto the existing traffic volumes.
so you're saying that the chart on 11, when you say an existing pharmacy would generate trips of 30 in and 27 out at the AM peak street hour compared to a proposed car wash, you're saying that's not actually comparing what you've calculated likely trips in and out for a pharmacy of 14,800 square feet? You're saying that's actually just the general traffic on the street for considering an empty pharmacy?
No, so table 5 strictly looks at the number of trips that, if the site were reoccupied with another pharmacy would drive through,
Right.
how many trips that site would generate. So we're strictly looking to compare, potentially reoccupancy of that existing building
Right.
with this car wash.
And that's what I was asking.
Yeah.
I thought you said you were actually comparing it to an empty.
So separately, when we took those existing traffic counts, we added the adjacent developments on top to develop the no-build traffic volumes. That assumed nothing was on the property.
I understand. And that's subsequent analysis that I'm talking about right here, the
Correct.
trip generation. Okay. So what I'm saying is, number one, we haven't looked at other L car washes to say this is how many trips are actually happening at those locations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And we also know that we don't have the opportunity to now, and it didn't happen. We can't count how many were going to the Rite Aid, right? Because that's closed now, right?
Correct.
So this is just, it's based off of a book, right?
It is, but as I mentioned, that data is collected at various sites throughout the country.
Now, do these trip generations and whether it's, subsequently with build or no build, or whether it's this chart, are you accounting for surge traffic? So there's daily traffic, right? Like, okay, on a given Tuesday in June, there's so much traffic for car washes and versus drugstore or, pharmacy. But what about those, times where it's coming out of a snowstorm, everybody's got salt all over their car and everybody wants to get there? Is that in this report?
It is not, no.
Do you have any information for us as to how that would factor in?
So based on the analysis, I think, even if the trip generation projection of the car wash was,
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, finish your answer.
20 to 30% higher, I don't think that would change the results of the analysis. If that's what.
Is that so the surge is 20 to 30% higher? Is that?
I would have to defer to the applicant on, what potentially their highest days are. But just in terms of the analysis, if there was, a slight increase in the projections, I don't see a change to the conclusions.
I think in your report around page 8, and maybe also in your appendices, when you analyze northbound St. Albans Avenue, I think you characterize it as 2 lanes, northbound St. Albans, right? A left turn and through lane and a right turn and through lane, correct?
Is this referring, I believe it's under the St. Albans Avenue and Remax driveway / Northern State driveway on page 8?
Yeah. Like,
Correct. I believe the existing lane configuration, right around that existing driveway goes from 2 lanes to 1.
it goes from 2 to 1, so you're aware of that.
Correct.
Okay.
It's 2 lanes at the intersection of Westchester Pike, and it drops to 1 lane as you get to the entrance to St. Albans Circle.
Okay. Do you discuss that in your report anywhere?
In the summary, again, on page 8 for St. Albans Circle, probably about the 5th line down, it says the northbound approach of St. Albans Avenue provides a shared lane.
Well, it says the northbound approach to St. Albans provides a shared left turn through lane and a shared through / right turn lane. So you're saying that's all 1 lane now?
So further down the page, under the St. Albans Circle heading,
I got you.
on the 5th line, it says the northbound approach of St. Albans Avenue provides a shared U-turn, left turn through, right turn lane. And that's meant to signify there's 1 lane that's an entrance to the roundabout from which you can make any movement.
So you've factored that into your analysis. Okay. I believe you said in your report anyway that you performed actual movement counts, turning movement counts, like you went to the site or had somebody go to the site and actually
Correct.
physically count. And that was done on 1 day, correct?
It was done
February 4th, 2026, a Wednesday.
Wednesday, February 4th, 2026, from 7 to 9 a.m. and
then-
4 to 6:30 p.m. and on Saturday, February 7th, from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m.
I meant 1 weekday, 1 weekend day.
Correct.
And is there a reason you pick Wednesday, February 4th and Saturday, February 7th? As opposed to any other day?
We typically perform weekday counts on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, as we find traffic patterns are typically normalized throughout the week on those days. PennDOT, I believe, also requires that those counts are taken on those days. Why that specific Wednesday and Saturday were selected, I think that was just based on the timing of the study. We did perform additional observations probably about a week or 2 later on site. I don't have the exact date for that.
Okay.
but that was not turning movement counts. That was strictly, visual observations.
You know what the weather was like, if it was one of those 9-degree days or 9-degree mornings versus a nice day? Do you have any
I
idea?
do not know the specific weather.
Would you factor that into your analysis as to whether you're going to pick a day if it's particularly bad weather or good weather or in between?
We typically try not to do counts when it's snowing or raining. I do know that there was snow on the ground, but based on our observations, all lanes were open, while those counts were being done.
If you could go to your appendix, I think it's Appendix A. I know we don't have, everybody doesn't have an Appendix A, but do we have an Appendix A for the board? You up here, okay. Gotcha. I understand. Thank you. Oops. So it starts off, okay, that's the site and the site location. We'll go to the next page. We have figure 2, 3.
I can walk through the various figures.
Yeah, if you could just generally walk through figure 2 through 9, just briefly, and tell us what these show.
Sure. So figure 1, as you mentioned, was just the site location map. Figure 2 is a summary of the existing traffic volumes that were conducted on those 2 dates in February.
And just as an example, so there's like from the circle, you're on figure 2, you said?
Correct.
So from the circle, heading south towards Westchester Pike, there's a number 159 with an arrow pointing south. Does that mean 159 cars during the peak hour heading south?
Correct. So there's 3 numbers listed in each line. The first number is the number of vehicles during the weekday morning peak hour. The second number in parentheses is the number of vehicles that we counted during the weekday evening peak hour. And the third number, which is in brackets, that represents the Saturday midday peak hour.
Okay. And then, of course, there's a 0 there with a left turn. That's nobody was going into the right aid, correct?
Correct.
Because that's empty. There's nobody there now, right?
Correct. We did count a few trips during the weekday evening and Saturday midday peak hours, as you see there.
Yep.
We reported those, but those were removed. As once the site generated trips were added.
Now, looking at similar numbers, by the time we get to figure 9, we go down to figure 9.
Yeah, so, sorry to interrupt. Figures 3 through 7, those
Yep.
are the various adjacent developments that the township. Sorry.
Adjacent developments.
Figures 3 through 7 represent the traffic volumes from those approved adjacent developments. Figure 8 represents the no-build traffic volumes.
Yep.
Which is the existing traffic volumes plus all of those adjacent developments were approved or under consideration.
Yep.
Figure 9 is a projection of where the site generated trips are traveling to and from.
And this is what I want to focus on. So site generated trips for the no build, the build, including all those.
So the no build represents conditions without the project.
Yep.
Then we essentially project and surcharge the site generated trips on top of the no build traffic volumes to get the build traffic volumes.
Understood.
So figure 8 is the no build traffic volumes. Figure 9 is the distribution of site generated trips. So what percentage is going where? Figure 10 is the actual number of site generated trips. So this is taking table 4, which Mr. Adamman walked me through previously, showing the number of site generated trips per peak hour. It's an estimate of those trips traveling to and from the car wash. And then figure 11 represents the build traffic volumes. So this is essentially figure 8 plus figure 10.
Okay.
So no build volumes plus the site generated traffic.
I understand. So let's go to figure 9. It says there's a 15% number on St. Albans Avenue, correct?
Correct.
And what's that 15% represent?
So that represents our projection of the percentage of trips that would travel to and from the site along St. Albans Avenue to the north, based on the existing volumes along St. Albans Avenue.
And how many then would you anticipate come from the site heading from Westchester Pike?
85%.
And my question is, when I look at the traffic, with figure 8, right? No build traffic volumes, which is the one that's the build traffic volume, which chart
Figure 8 is the no build and figure 11 is the build.
is the build? So it looks to me like on figure 11, this is with a car wash constructed and all the other developments constructed. We have 162 vehicles coming south from the circle on those on a peak hour, right? That peak morning hour, correct?
Correct.
And then how many do you have coming north on that same street, peak morning hour?
At that northern site driveway, 168.
Okay, so you got 168 coming north and 162 coming south. How is it that you figure only 15%? That seems pretty much the same to me, coming north and coming south. How do you calculate that only 15% of the traffic going into site will be coming from the north?
So we were additionally looking at the traffic volumes along Westchester Pike. So there's, during that same peak hour going eastbound on Westchester Pike, there's 1,186 vehicles, and going westbound, there's 1,473. So we were essentially looking at the distribution of traffic in the entire network that was studied.
But don't you make the determination for the build of 164 heading north from Westchester Pike at the peak hour, peak AM hour?
In my opinion, you'd have to consider the volumes along Westchester Pike, given the nature of the use.
So when you have on figure 11, northbound 164 is traveling north on St. Albans Avenue, after the construction of the car wash, that doesn't include additional traffic that you're saying will be coming from Westchester Pike.
Sorry, I'm not, the 164, where is that? Got it. So that's going southbound at the southern site driveway?
That's still southbound.
So I guess the trips.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
It's 168 northbound, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I said, I'm sorry, to be clear, I said 164 northbound, it's 168 southbound, but it's the same question, 162 southbound, 168 northbound. And you're saying that 168 does not include additional traffic that you anticipate will be flowing from Westchester Pike because of that 1,100 cars per peak hour?
So if you look at that same intersection at the northern site driveway.
Yes.
Next to the 168 is a 45.
Yes.
That is the projection for the site generated trips turning into that driveway.
Okay.
So that is, essentially the surcharge of those trips. It would travel north, from Westchester Pike and then turn right into the site at that northern site driveway.
Okay, so what you're saying is you anticipate that the southbound traffic and northbound traffic will be roughly equal, except that there'll be an additional 45 vehicles, not included that 168, that will be turning right into northbound traffic that will be turning right into the site?
Correct.
and then an additional 8 that will be turning left from the north.
Correct.
Okay. And you're basing that off of is that the IT manual that tells you those percentages based off pass-by traffic on Westchester Pike?
No, the IT told us the total number of trips projected. We base the percentage of trips based upon our review of the traffic volumes in the study area. Which includes Westchester Pike.
Okay, so what is it? What's the formula you use to determine 45 entering this area on a peak morning hour versus 8 traveling south and entering on a peak morning area? What's the formula you use to determine that?
That's not specified directly in this, report. We don't have that calculation specifically, but we're essentially looking at the 162 trips traveling southbound along St. Albans Avenue, passing the site driveway. The 1,186 trips traveling eastbound on Westchester Pike, and the 1,473 trips traveling westbound along Westchester Pike to get to that projection of, 85% of traffic oriented to and from Westchester Pike from the car wash.
Is most of the traffic pass-by traffic, or is most of the traffic local that uses a car wash such as this?
So IT does not provide any pass-by data for car washes. Based on data provided by Al Car Wash, they've done a couple studies on their sites in Florida, and they found that a pass-by percentage as high as 70%. So what that means is of the total trips that were listed in Table 4 in the report, we're assuming right now that all of those are coming to and from the car wash, specifically, driving from, residential area or house to the car wash and returning. In reality, there's a large percentage of trips that are already on the roadway network, are already on Westchester Pike, simply turning onto St. Albans Avenue to enter the site and then exit and get right back on their route. So, for the purpose of the study, because IT does not provide pass-by rates, we assumed that was 0, but based on data that El Car Wash has provided, they found as high as 70% pass-by rate at other sites in Florida.
Now, you are aware that you've been on site, you've seen the actual traffic circle.
Correct.
And you're aware that as you come around the traffic circle counterclockwise and you head south on St. Albans, the turning lane to get into the proposed car wash site, you're familiar with that turning lane?
Correct, yes.
And how many cars would you suppose that would hold in queue?
I don't have an exact length on that, but I don't think more than 1 or 2 based on.
1 or 2, I think most people would agree 1 or 2. And so if there's more than 1 or 2 cars queuing, that could actually impede the traffic flow of the circle, correct?
That's correct.
And in fact, if the traffic flow is impeded, somebody coming around the circle, there could actually be, it increases the likelihood of a collision, correct?
Theoretically, yes.
You mentioned on page 10 of your report that the proposed tunnel is, I think you said it's greater in distance or shorter in distance than the tunnel width, the tunnel length in the manual. Take a look here.
Yeah, so I think our exact wording was the proposed tunnel space associated with the car wash is smaller than the 6,430 square feet utilized for this calculation, and therefore the trip generation calculations are conservative.
So how do you relate the amount of trip generations to the length of the tunnel? It's the
So-
connection.
So the IT projections and, you know, the numerous data that they've collected is ultimately, based on the square footage of the car wash tunnel. So this, as Ms. Weiss, our engineer, mentioned, is obviously an adaptive reuse of the existing building. It's going to be divided into both the tunnel and vacuum spaces. So we had provided a, you know, conservative measurement of the tunnel space in order to generate the trip generation calculations.
And what does that mean in layman's terms?
So in reality, the tunnel space may be smaller, which based on ITE data would result in less trips. But we essentially took a measurement and projection to allow for, you know, potential future changes in, you know, slight architectural shifts, that sort of thing, to provide a conservative projection of the traffic.
Can you provide an explanation why a shorter tunnel would result in less trips?
The data, as I mentioned, is provided by IT, and, you know, I personally have not reviewed all of that data that they've collected, but they have found a relationship in review of that data between square footage and number of trips.
I believe you talked in your direct testimony about the traffic queuing on southbound St. Albans to get onto Westchester Pike.
Yes.
correct? And so we have, I think there's a few lanes there, right? Can you explain the lanes that we have southbound on St. Albans Avenue as they intersect with Westchester Pike?
Sure, there are 3 southbound lanes at that intersection. There's 2 dedicated left turn lanes and a shared through right turn lane.
And you talked about this idea that at times there's queuing all the way up to the circle?
Correct.
And do you know approximately how long of a queue that is?
It's around 300 feet.
Okay. So, and that would actually go past, that queue would go past both the southern exit and the northern entrance, correct?
Correct.
So for a car trying to exit out of the car wash, you had mentioned that they might have to rely on a courtesy gap.
Correct, or they would need to wait for the signal to change and the queue to clear.
I understand. And the courtesy gap would, if somebody wanted to go right on Westchester Pike, they would have to, that courtesy gap would have to be 3 lanes wide, correct?
Correct.
And so if somebody was exiting this car wash and working their way across the northbound St. Albans Avenue lane, and their courtesy gap is not as good as they thought it was, they would actually be blocking that northbound.
Correct. I think in that case, though, they would ultimately, you know, wait for the queue to clear if somebody was trying to make a right from
Well, yeah, I mean, if
St. Albans Avenue.
you would hope, right? But I mean, you see the signs, don't block the box, but drivers don't always do that, right? Like,
Correct, and the left turn queue, as I mentioned, was, you know, did back up to the circle. The right turn queue was substantially less, only about 130 feet during that peak hour, which I think is just south of that driveway location.
But you got to get across the left-bound queues to
Correct.
get to the right-bound queues, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the other thing that the driver could do is, you know, responsible driver, right? Hopefully wait. They might not wait. The other thing they could do is go back around the circle, correct?
Correct.
And if you analyzed the estimated amount of increased traffic for cars that might actually go around that circle because they can't make that left.
We have not.
Okay. Did you take a look at any traffic that might go into other neighborhoods behind St. Albans Circle or behind Rhodes Avenue?
No.
Like shortcut traffic or anything like that?
No.
Did you consider how, just in your counts of traffic volumes or expected trips, did you consider you know, the listener development, the apartments, and townhouses related to the Ellis Preserve, and how they might come up winding way behind St. Albans Circle and not even, and come straight down from the north.
So I think that would be factored into the, percentage of trips that we envision that would, travel through the circle. We didn't look at specifically any of those mentioned developments other than the percentage of trips that we project would travel to and from the north.
And I don't think I have any further questions. Sorry, it took so.
So going back to talking about exiting the car wash right there, and knowing that if traffic is backed up for the two left turns and the right out on the Westchester Pike, we know that people are going to pull out because they want to make their way into that gap. And then the concern over cars coming down Westchester Pike, making it right onto St. Albans. So there's a lot of serious concerns with the way, as of now, you can't even make a left out of this parking lot, correct?
Correct.
And we've all seen that backup of traffic that's there. So now we're going to add additional vehicles, move the exit closer to Westchester Pike, and allow them to make a left out of it?
Correct. So the access right now is very close to St. Albans Circle. I obviously wasn't part of the initial approvals for the Rite Aid, but I suspect that's, based on the proximity to the circle, that's why that left turn is restricted. We are proposing to move that driveway south to provide adequate stopping site distance to both the circle and the signal at Westchester Pike. But we also saw it as an opportunity to essentially avoid the need for every trip that's exiting the car wash to travel through the circle. So that
You're only saying 15% of people exiting the car wash are going to go back through the circle,
correct. But if
correct?
that driveway was limited to right out only, you'd have
Yeah.
100% of trips traveling through there, potentially coming back down on St. Albans Avenue to then make the left or right onto Westchester Pike, or traveling through other roadways to do that. So the full movement egress does allow that opportunity to avoid the need for every trip to travel through the circle. And the queuing concerns that we had and observed were really only during that weekday evening peak hour. So during the other study peak hours, we didn't observe any sort of queuing issue blocking the driveway.
Which, I mean, they're already in the township's most frustrating hours as it is, and now we're looking to add to that. So, I'm sure a lot of the residents that are here, that's a concern of theirs, but it just seems, I don't know.
Understood. And if the township, wanted to consider, peak hours, I would during. If, the township during the land development process wanted to consider a, peak hour restriction on that driveway during, times of higher queuing, that could be a consideration as well.
Do you have any numbers? I mean, obviously, this isn't the first car wash that they've done. Like, what are they seeing in terms of just average vehicles at the other car washes?
I don't have that data in front of me, but I think that's something we could, obviously provide.
Do you think allowing that left out, that same left we were just talking about, out of the car wash during peak hours would cause more of a backup within the car wash as cars are waiting to make that left onto St. Albans?
So
Versus always making a right and streamlining the way out of the car wash by making a left, they would have to wait for a courtesy gap, a queue to clear, or something to happen, and then cars coming out of the car wash would just have to wait for that behind that exit, right?
yeah, and I think during the peak time, specifically the Saturday peak, I think there was one vehicle projected to make that left turn about every 45 seconds. So as I mentioned, the cycle length of the signal is about 120 seconds. So there is space. If that first vehicle waited, signal to clear, or the queue to clear, signal to change, and then made that left out. There is space. I think there's space for 2 to 3 vehicles on site without any impact to the vacuum spaces. I think you need to get all the way back to about 7 vehicles before you really impacted any on-site circulation. But as I mentioned, that would be I think a very quick thing that, the signal would change, the queue would clear, and then those vehicles would make that turn out. So
Does the queue, when you study, the queue always clears every green
Ba-
light?
Based on our observations, yes.
And the 7 vehicles between the vacuum spaces, between the cars exiting the exterior vacuum spaces, the car wash itself, and then the interior vacuum spaces. You think that volume over that time period is most likely less than the 7 cars?
I do. Yeah, as I mentioned, based on the IT projections, it would be about 1 vehicle every 45 seconds. So say first vehicle needed to wait at most 90 seconds for that signal to clear. You know, you could get 2, 3 vehicles, but I think 7 is more than sufficient.
And Mr. Sikora touched on the one area where you have cars exiting and making a left out of the car wash. You have other vehicles exiting and making a left out of the interior vacuum spaces. And you have cars entering via St. Albans, and that circle, that intersection where you have a controlled stop, but you cannot stop the cars exiting the car wash. That's a continuous exiting, right? Is there any potential where you have a car while they're waiting at the controlled stop, while there may be a backup because of waiting for the queue or a courtesy gap, or one's making left hand or whatever is taking place there, and you have cars exiting the interior car wash, then you have the continuous uncontrolled exiting of cars from the car wash itself. It's automated. Do you see any risk in that area being a concern or a problem?
So I guess on the first point, I do believe there is adequate sight distance for that, you know, vehicle that comes out of the tunnel, makes a left, needs to wait at the stop bar to see any ingressing vehicles. I don't have that exact measurement, but it looks like you could probably fit 3 to 4 cars before you would really get back to the tunnel. I think in reality, if a vehicle does need to stop to wait for an ingressing vehicle, it would only be a matter of a few seconds. So I don't think there would really be a concern about it backing up to the tunnel entrance or tunnel exit, sorry.
Okay. Questions?
With respect to the studies you've conducted, did you conducted any studies that entailed Westchester Pike and 252 intersection and the backup during prime time or peak times?
We did not study that intersection as part of
Have you ever made an observation of what traffic looks like at approximately any time between 5 and 7 o'clock on westbound traffic on Westchester Pike going toward 252? Did you make any personal observations of the traffic heading westward on Westchester Pike towards 252?
Yeah, we have observed some queuing from the 252 intersection, backing up to the.
That observation suggests to you that it sometimes backs up as far back as St. Albans Circle?
That was, I guess, observations that were concurrently made, but that we primarily observed the southbound left turn on St. Albans Avenue turning onto Westchester Pike was the one backing up to St. Albans Circle.
So you didn't factor any of the traffic going westbound on Westchester Pike or any of the traffic going eastbound turning into St. Albans Circle?
That was all factored into the analysis, yes. But we did not study the 252 intersection separately.
And with regard to your studies, I didn't hear any commentary or testimony with regard to any of the business or commercial properties on the west side of St. Albans Circle. Was that factored into any of your studies?
The counts along St. Albans Avenue, yes, did factor in the volumes traveling to.
Because there are exits from the commercial businesses on the west side of St. Albans that are also producing vehicles onto southbound part of St. Albans Circle.
Yes, and
if I'm exiting the westbound commercial properties and I need to get to the left-hand turning lane, I have to cross one of the lanes that are going to turn right onto Westchester Pike versus my wanting to turn left, correct?
Correct.
And then you have what you suggested is the courtesy intersection of getting traffic from the site onto St. Albans Road going southbound. Now you have traffic that potentially could be entering traffic from the west and from the east. And then traffic that's queuing back potentially to the circle itself, correct?
Correct.
And with all of that, I think that you suggested that at peak times, and I think your testimony was that you had concerns at peak time traffic. Isn't that what your testimony was?
We observed queues along St. Albans Avenue during peak times, specifically the weekday evening peak, backing up to the St. Albans.
Right,
Circle.
and I think you said you had some concerns about that. Didn't you say that?
I do not recall that exactly, but we did observe those queues.
And based on all of that information, you believe that this plan is the safest plan for traffic in that specific area with that kind of volume?
I do believe it provides for safe and efficient access to and from the property. And, you know, as was mentioned, I think the driveway location a little bit further south from its current location does allow to essentially avoid having all egress traffic from this car wash to travel through the circle.
Were there any other plans or diagrams or designs that were reviewed that may actually be safer than what you've projected tonight?
I do not recall any specifically.
So this was the only plan that you put forward, and there were no other subsequent
Sam, I'm gonna have to jump in as Kevin wasn't involved. We had preliminary discussions with the township where we had the access in the same spot as the Rite Aid, and township staff suggested we move it to where we have it
Well,
now.
I'm just,
He was
he
not
test,
involved.
he testified, so I'm just asking about his testimony.
And I'm supplementing it because he wasn't involved in those discussions. So I don't want the record to reflect the fact that he wasn't involved, something else wasn't considered. As a lawyer, obviously, I'm under oath.
But that's not of record. I'm cross-examining him on what he testified to.
Okay.
So your testimony is that there was one plan and this was the plan, based on your knowledge.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have.
Real quick, Mr. Sephora covered what I was gonna get into with you, but there's still something that I just struggle with, because obviously traffic is the big issue, one of the big issues, and how it's gonna impact the community and how much it's gonna cost. And if I understood correctly, you go to this institute and you get data. You go out to the site and you count cars, right?
Correct.
Okay. What is just, maybe I'm missing something. You can get in your car and drive 4 minutes down Westchester Pike, and there's a car wash down there. And you can sit there for a few hours on any day of the week, and you can figure out what the real impact is when you put a car wash in a neighborhood. Why didn't you do that?
So we rely on, IT data because it represents a number of various sites throughout the country.
Right, we're only one site.
Understood. But the ability to collect and collate that data and establish trends, I think, is important, because you could have that specific car wash, for instance, either under generating or over generating based upon, where it is, what the brand is, et cetera. So the IT data really, normalizes that data in a sense, because it sort of removes those potential outliers.
Did you go down? Did you know that car wash was there?
We had not specifically studied that car wash, no.
Did you know it was there?
I have driven past it before.
Did you know there's another one down the other way past Cardinal O'Hara to check out?
I did not know.
Okay. That's all I have.
And I think just to correct one thing, I do recall there was one other plan that we reviewed that had the access a little bit further south. I think we had lined that up with the driveway across the street at the back of the existing turn lanes in order to provide, additional flexibility for that left turn out.
What impact would that plan have had?
So I think that would make the left turn out even more difficult because it's closer to the signal.
If I could ask, can I ask a question?
Sure, go for it.
I'm a numbers guy, and so I just want to understand figure, I think it's on what the one that's on the screen here. I believe it's figure 11. So if I'm coming southbound and I'm going to go to the light. You're saying there's 162 cars that are going straight, correct? Southbound to the light. I'm coming out of the circle, going southbound at the peak. There's 162 cars.
Correct,
2 cars are coming out from the Remax driveway.
correct,
So I get to 164. Correct?
correct.
When I get down to the intersection of the south site driveway, I pick up an additional 37.
Correct.
If I did my math right, that's 201 cars.
Yes.
How, when I get to Westchester Pike, do we only have 143 cars?
So there's actually an additional 40 vehicles there, so it'd be 183.
I mean, I'm sorry, I meant 183.
Yeah, so the reality is the counts were taken at the same time at these various intersections. There is some, a little bit of imbalancing between, just based on cars turning in and out of driveways, that we didn't count every single driveway along that stretch. We obviously did counts along St. Albans Avenue and at the intersections. So that difference is really just a result of slight imbalances during the counts, as well as vehicles turning into and out of those various driveways.
So roughly 10%.
Correct.
Okay, just for the board to understand. Okay, thank you.
Very quick question. On table 5, when you reviewed the data on table 5, the increase from the existing pharmacy to the car wash, you said that, in your opinion, it did not significantly increase traffic. I think Mr. Sikora clarified 50% was the number, the delta. Is there a number that you would consider would? What is your threshold of significant versus insignificant increases?
So PennDOT currently sets forth a trip count of 150 trips when they typically require a transportation impact study to be performed. So that's typically the threshold that we look at for, substantial impact or change.
So not a
number of trips rather than.
Not a percentage, just a number of trips.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question along the same line. Again, looking at that same table, it's pretty obvious that the peak increase, if you look at the peak stress hours, the AM is up 68%, right? If we take our base of 57 and we add 39 to that, Saturday is not as significant. It's a 56% increase, but the PM window is only a 3% increase. And this might fall to later when we talk ops things, but, I would just ask, and maybe there's an opportunity to look at the hours of operation and try to, maybe limit some of that peak impact in the morning, because that's really where it's going to be impactful to the community. As it relates to almost a 70% increase in that, whatever those hours are for the peak street hours on, in the morning,
Understood. Yeah, I'm not the witness for that, but
Yeah.
understood.
Got it.
One other question, was there any accounting for the parking and traffic in the adjacent shopping center to the east? Only because there are people that are currently using the site where the Rite Aid is as a parking lot for that shopping center, and there's obviously going to be an impact when they can't park there anymore.
Not as part of my work on the project, no.
Would you be able to project, would there be any projection that could be made on the impact of people not being able to use that lot anymore? They are using, it is what, yes.
But it is an impact.
Yeah.
There would not be, no.
Do we have any questions before? I will get to you, I promise. Make sure there's no more questions from the board before we go to our party protestants. Good, Mr. Olympy.
Mr. Savage, you said you were provided, data from El Car Wash in Florida, is that correct?
Correct.
Did they provide you any, information from states that, receive a significant amount of snowfall?
No.
As part of the traffic study, was there any, study of, pedestrians, bikes, anything like that?
They were included as part of the traffic counts. Pedestrians were included, but there wasn't a specific projection as to additional trips to and from the site. For instance, it's a pretty car-oriented use, so.
Was any part of the study, recognize the use of the circle, for events, things like that? How that would affect traffic?
No.
Have you ever done a traffic study in Newtown Township before?
I have not specifically done one in Newtown Township, no, but I've done them throughout Delaware County.
Thank you.
I actually do have a question real quick. Steve, when that circle was renovated, was the goal to make it a safer, more walkable space?
That was the goal, yes.
And again, so looking at that, like just bringing it up that it was supposed to be a safe space, and again, we're adding cars to it. So is that, so just curious because it was modified to be this safe, walkable space, and just curious if that's taken into consideration, right? Again, we're adding more vehicles to that for something that is supposed to be walkable for the
That's
town.
why the access was changed per the township's request to make it come out further closest to Westchester Pike, so the majority of the traffic would turn left and not go back up through the circle.
So I think I should just clarify what that means. So when an applicant has the opportunity to come in to speak with the staff before they submit to the township formally and before the Board of Supervisors takes a look at an application and decides if they're going to oppose it or not. And so what the staff does is identify what they see as quote, hot button, close quote, issues, right? So the staff doesn't get to say, oh, this is, you can't have a car wash here, or you can have a car wash here. The staff just says, hey, we have identified this as an issue. That circle was recently redone, and the goal to make it more pedestrian friendly. So when the applicant comes in and there's 100% of the traffic is going around the circle, that's identified as, hey, that's an issue. So without saying, hey, we're going to approve a car wash, or the board's going to approve a car wash, one of the things we think you should do, applicant, is take a look and try to route traffic so that it does not increase unduly traffic in the circle. So that's what Mr. Edelman's referring to earlier.
Got it.
And that's fair enough.
That's fair, and nobody gave us approval, but we took that into account. So that's the answer to the question.
Now, I'm not sure which side you're on here. So,
He's definitely not on our side.
all right, and I know you
Yeah, I should say.
step up to the podium.
So I guess it's a follow-up. Yep, it's Tom Trio, 3535 Rhodes Avenue. TRIO. Yep. So I guess a follow-up to Rich's question regarding actual number counts and what Dodd's Car Wash does. I was actually privy to getting some of that information before I came in here. I'm good friends with the owner. He's a friend of mine, and he actually provided me some insight on, I would say, quite a bit more than what Kevin is letting us know here. Just on a total washed in the 2025.
I know what you're gonna say. that
And
it's-
Jack, he can do this part of his case, but if he wants to ask him questions about it.
I mean, I'm speaking to, he asked a question and to you guys, and you guys didn't have an answer, but I have those facts and their actual
Right, that would be your
factual
testimony.
information.
That would be
Okay.
your testimony. I'm not gonna.
So I can't just give a broad number on cars?
So when you, yeah, at the
Okay.
end, but if you have questions, again, based on what he said, and you will get a
Yeah,
chance.
Kevin, so another question in regard to traffic pattern, what your logic was in decision in closing off Westchester Pike, okay? and then forcing all the traffic on St. Albans Circle. That is a PennDOT, that is a state road. I mean, it's got great accessibility. You can run your traffic patterns around and navigate through your car wash a different type of way. I'm just curious where your logic was cutting off a state entrance and then moving everything to St. Albans Circle.
So there's an existing right-in only driveway along Westchester Pike. I think it's located pretty much as far east along the site frontage
Correct.
as feasible. Based upon, as Ms. White mentioned, the reuse of the building, there were some limitations, obviously, to where, the tunnel would need to go and stacking to occur. So that driveway essentially would cut the stacking lane. So,
Okay.
so based on that, it
But I'm still understanding that at some point that traffic flow is going to come off Westchester Pike, right? Just stay with me here. Come around the turn, go into that lane and wrap around. There's still going to be an influx of cars lining up on Westchester Pike, probably, affecting other businesses too down the line when it really gets busy. I mean, again, I'm not allowed to share the numbers, but I don't think your numbers are they're inaccurate. That's all I'm saying.
So in terms of the stacking data, and the number of cars available to stack, I believe there's 25 spaces included on the exhibit. I'm not sure
Sure.
the number. Based on, data been provided by El Car Wash, they found a maximum of about 10 to 12 vehicles.
But all your data is just, it's analytics, it's AI, it's what you
Not just-
grab, it's what you grab from this. All I'm saying, it's what the state basically creates or a local ordinance or government, and then you pull that information off of there, and then you decide or
So
come to a
the-
conclusion as to what that data represents that you produce to
So
the
the
board.
10 to 12 stacking spaces, that was based on El Car Wash's observations of their existing site. They looked at their existing sites, 2 existing sites in Florida, to see what the maximum queues were, because they want to design.
But that's
sites-
throughout Florida. This is Newtown Square, Pennsylvania.
Tom, let me just finish and then.
Correct. So they want to design sites such that they function adequately. They don't want queues to back up to affect on-site circulation, affect
Okay.
access, because I think that's, that isn't good for their business model. But based on those queues, they found 10 to 12 is really the maximum. There's 25 here. I think you could fit, a number more before you really start impacting on-site circulation.
Well, I suggest you may take a drive down about 5 miles and take a look at that type of situation, because it's going to be a little bit more than that. But yep, thanks for the time, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
As the committee person for the precinct in St. Albans Avenue, I'd just like to ask to be recognized by all of you. It's voluntary, but I have some questions from the neighborhood. With all of your permission, I'd like to ask.
I don't
It's okay,
know that we're there yet. How do we? I think.
not yet.
Yeah.
I only needed one no. I'm waiting to ask questions of the neighborhood, for the neighborhood, when it's my turn. Sure, it's Elliot, Elliot, Shalita, S like Sam, Halita.
Mr. Fedor, do you have questions for the?
Yes, sir,
This
if you have
witness?
questions this time.
All right, good job.
I figured it out. Eric Fedor, 3539 Rhodes Avenue. All right, let's see, where do we start? You spoke of a courtesy gap, sir?
Yes.
Okay, so folks that are exiting, the exit would be the southern exit towards Westchester Pike, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so a courtesy gap. So folks are going to wait there for someone to be kind enough to let them out? Is that what you mean by courtesy gap?
That is what I mean, yes. Or they
Okay,
may
does that-
wait for
does-
the signal to change.
Right, the signal, and that was mentioned too. It's right turn on red there. So there really is no signal for the right turn. Because even when the traffic light's red, people are still turning.
Yep, understood, but the other movements, so the eastbound lefts, the northbound movement, they're all controlled. So, you would have some vehicles that they would need to, wait for gaps, making that westbound right turn.
But the first gap you need to wait for is to get out onto St. Albans.
Correct.
That would be the first thing to overcome. And then With all due respect, you know, I realize that you were here looking for a day. I've lived here for 18 years and, traffic from northbound St. Albans onto Westchester Pike is usually 2 lanes, solid, stacked up, waiting for the light to change, sometimes all the way back to the circle. So even if somebody is kind enough to let you out, now your car is going to be across St. Albans waiting for an opportunity to get into the northbound travel lanes. So it's not quite as easy as just waiting for somebody to let you out.
Their question.
Yeah, I get where there's come from. Do you have a question for him?
So how do you come upon that courtesy gap, and it's not going to be a problem if, you know, I've observed quite different.
So, again, if a vehicle was looking to make a left turn out of the southern side driveway, it would need to wait for a courtesy gap in southbound traffic such that, you know, a vehicle that's in the southbound left turn lane would need to wait, allow that vehicle to make a left turn out into the southbound lane. Or, as I mentioned, the signal, it's on a 120-second cycle. There is a large amount of green time dedicated to southbound St. Albans. The vehicle would need to wait for that queue to clear before making that left turn.
So they'd have to wait there, and all the meanwhile, the traffic is coming off Westchester Pike, making the right turn on red.
Correct. And for reference, I believe we counted about 150 vehicles making that right turn on red. So for reference, that's about 1 vehicle or 2 vehicles a minute. So based on that, you know, there's more than sufficient gaps available to make it left.
2 vehicles a minute, so every 30 seconds a vehicle is coming.
Correct. And a vehicle typically needs about a 9-second gap to make a left turn.
9-second gap to get across 2 lanes of northbound traffic into where you can go to make your turn on Westchester Pike.
Correct.
9 seconds.
Correct.
Okay, we don't all drive Ferraris here. See, so the existing cut is going to be made for ingress. I was looking at your table 5. And according to table 5, the existing pharmacy is 14,824 square feet on table 5.
Correct.
And you have the proposed tunnel car wash. Now, is that just the tunnel itself, or is that the whole building?
That's just the tunnel itself and associated equipment.
Okay, so so it would be within that 14,000 square foot pharmacy building.
Correct.
Okay.
Many of the buildings will be made up by that.
Okey-doke, let me just see if I'm able to ask one more question. Here we are. So where are we? Oh, build level of, on the executive summary, down maybe 1, 2, 3 4 bullet points, with the addition of site generated traffic at the intersection of St. Albans Avenue and Remax, et cetera, build level of service A during peak hours studied. No build level of service A. So you're saying that that's going to be maintained as a service A traffic flow?
Correct.
Okay, and what exactly is a service A traffic flow, please?
So as part of our analyses, we essentially conduct capacity analyses of each intersection within the study area. So that included Westchester Pike and St. Albans Avenue, the signal, St. Albans Avenue in the northern side driveway, St. Albans Circle, and St. Albans Avenue in the southern side driveway. Based on our analysis and modeling, we essentially come up with a projection of a level of delay for each movement. So each movement, it's essentially correlates to a level of delay in seconds. The Highway Capacity Manual, which is a national publication, essentially correlates that level of delay to a level of service A through F. So the no build level of service A at that driveway, based on our projections, is maintained in the build conditions.
Okay, but what exactly does service A mean?
It's a very low amount of delay.
Okay, yeah, so I guess that agrees with what I looked up, free flow, low volume and high speed.
Correct. I believe that's a summary for level of service on a.
Level service A.
On a highway. not
On
an
a
intersection.
highway.
It generally is the lowest level of delay.
So pretty much no impact,
I would.
little to
I
no
would say
impact,
Minimal perceptible.
minimal perceptible impact, okay. And last question for you is you took like a site survey in February of this year?
Correct.
And when the building was closed and so on and so on, did you happen to notice the mess at St. Albans Circle during rush hour?
Yes, we did observe, obviously, we performed traffic counts there and did, observe queuing, backing up to St. Albans Circle.
Backing up into the circle and past the circle and down, and yeah, it's a real nightmare. So, but that is still a service level A?
Based on our analyses, yes, I would say I didn't observe any queuing through and beyond the circle. But, we did observe queuing back up to the circle.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Matt?
No, sorry, no, we'll get. Yeah, that you're gonna end up being public comment. It's because these are all party for testing.
I guess based off of your analytics and your data that you presented tonight, could you say that it's possible to wash 191,000 cars in a year? With a fair estimate, just so everybody's got an idea of what the volume could speak to of what this car wash would bring in town. I'm not saying that's an exact number. I'm saying a guesstimation just for everybody to kind of have a rule of thumb.
Tom, our other witness who was set to testify but had to leave, he could probably answer that question because operationally he can tell you
Okay.
how many cars they would anticipate coming through. I'm not sure.
But that's,
Kevin, you can answer.
that's just,
but-
it's anywhere from 100,000, 190,000, 200,000. What's typically a car wash do in a year,
Yeah, he
you know?
can answer that question. I don't know whether Kevin can.
Okay.
Kevin,
I
bet
cannot,
he can.
no.
I'm just saying, you
No.
probably can answer when we have our next witness.
Okay.
Same question.
All right, well, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
Anyone have any questions for this witness?
I do have some redirect.
Yeah.
If I may. Thank you. See if I can remember what I wanted to ask. Kevin, the table 5 that we talked about in Exhibit A10, does that need to be read and interpreted in context with your existing traffic volumes, which I think were on Figure 2, and or your design build? I think that's Figure 11.
No, this is simply a projection. If the property were reoccupied as a pharmacy, which, I know Rite Aid closed, theoretically another pharmacy could come in and just open the existing building. That is, projection of what the volumes could be.
Okay, so if we took those volumes from a Rite Aid and we applied it and did the same analysis as you've done here for a car wash, you would be doing all the same figures, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so the Rite Aid would have fully occupied similar impacts to what we're talking about today, correct?
In my opinion, yes.
Okay, so let's look at, and I believe your testimony was the minimal impact was during the PM peak. I'm not sure whether you really testified it was minimal impact during AM and Saturday. But if we look at Table 5 again, you said the increase, let me get it, Table 5 on page 9, and the PM peak, there was a difference of a total of 5 trips. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And when we look at Figure 2, which is the existing traffic volumes, you have the existing traffic volumes for AM peak, PM peak, and Saturday peak, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what's the AM peak generally along the site?
There's about 150 to 160 vehicles along St. Albans Avenue.
And what's the PM peak?
About a 480 southbound, 140 northbound.
So 2.5 to 3 times worse?
Southbound, yes.
Okay, between AM.
I'm taking your math for it, but yes.
Okay, at least 2 times more,
Correct,
correct?
yeah.
Okay, and based upon table 5, the proposed car wash, what type of impact would it have as compared to reoccupying the pharmacy during the PM peak?
In the PM peak, there would be the same, little change in level service in the way.
So then in the AM peak, table 5, there was an increase of 39. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And when you went back to table 2, figure 2, that was 100 and, what'd you say, 140, 150?
150 to 60.
So you'd be adding 39 trips to that background traffic.
Correct.
And what kind of impact would that have as compared to the PM peak that's 2 times worse?
In my opinion, fairly minimal, as I think you're hinting at, the weekday evening peak hour is really the critical peak hour in terms of the analysis because of the higher volumes.
And then let's do the same analysis comparing the pharmacy to the car wash and the existing traffic on the Saturday peak, sorry. The difference was 74 total?
Correct.
Okay. And then we go back to the existing traffic numbers on Saturday on St. Albans. And what were they on a Saturday peak?
125 northbound, 225 southbound roughly.
Okay. So if we added the additional car wash traffic to the Saturday peak hours, is it anywhere near the PM peak?
No, it'd be less.
There were a lot of questions, both from the board and from Mr. Sikori, about why didn't you use L car wash or car wash data? Does PennDOT regularly accept specific use data when they're calculating traffic impacts?
Yes, for, I would say, 98% of the traffic studies and traffic impact assessments that I've submitted to PennDOT, we have utilized ITE data.
ITE, but do they use specific data? Like if I said to PennDOT, I'm going to put an L car wash in, I want to use my L car wash traffic, will PennDOT accept my L car wash traffic in the traffic impact study?
They would, yeah.
Okay. In this instance, when you're dealing with ITE, is it a standard, regularly accepted methodology?
Yes, across the country.
And when you look at car wash data for ITE, do you have any idea how many points of data it uses?
I do not have the number in front of me. I believe it's 15 to 20 different sites across the country.
And would it be different types of car wash users or companies?
Correct.
When the ITE calculations are used, the townships, PennDOT, do they come back to you and say, use existing data as opposed to ITE data?
Typically, no.
Okay. Do you know what was used for the Rite Aid when it was originally calculated or not?
As part of the original approvals for that site, I do not know.
Okay. When we are looking at I believe Mr. Sikori asked, did you look at Ellis Preserve? Did you look at Lissitor? Did you look at all these other residences? And I believe your answer was no.
Correct.
Okay. Isn't it true that the data that you have for the Westchester Pike traffic would probably include all the traffic coming from those developments and more?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it is no rules. You were in zoning, but Mr. Litigator, I can ask it a different way if you'd like. What is included in the Westchester Pike traffic, Mr. Savage?
Existing traffic volumes that, are traveling along Westchester Pike, whether that's to get to their residence or place of work.
And where could that traffic have been generated from?
Any number of, any residential development.
And could that include the local developments that Mr. Sikori asked you about?
Yes.
Or is that better? Thank you. Took me 2 more minutes to say the same thing. There were some questions regarding the capacity and level of service at St. Albans Circle. Has PennDOT analyzed more recently the capacity levels at roundabouts and their ability to service increased traffic?
I'm not aware of any specific, but generally, yes, PennDOT has, I don't know if it's a formal policy, but they've essentially requested that various municipalities, counties, et cetera, look at the implementation of roundabouts as a viable intersection alternative.
And as a traffic,
Intersection alternative, as opposed to a signal.
and as a traffic engineer, generally, what does having a roundabout do in terms of providing additional capacity for traffic?
So it generally allows free flow conditions on most approaches because, you know, you're essentially subject to a yield control rather than a stop or signal control. It also has the potential to decrease some high severity crashes, like angle crashes, which are more typical at a signalized intersection. So crashes at roundabouts are often, you know, rear ends or low speed. So it does decrease some of those, you know, higher impact crashes.
Okay. So does the fact that St. Albans is a roundabout factor into your conclusion regarding the post-development level of service A?
We analyzed it as a roundabout, but if it was a different intersection type, you know, I think the results would be the same.
Okay. I think Mr. Sikori also asked you a question about why you didn't evaluate impact on like local traffic distribution. I don't know if you really answered the question. Do you have an answer with respect to why you didn't focus on some of the, you know, neighborhood traffic streets in your trip distribution and assessment?
So we, you know, based on the traffic volumes, we projected a high percentage of trips oriented to and from Westchester Pike. The number of trips traveling through St. Albans Circle or any other, you know, residential intersection would be fairly low and well below, you know, the standard PennDOT threshold for requiring study.
Do you have an opinion as to whether if all traffic had to be directed to the circle, whether the same percentage or a similar percentage would still come back to Westchester Pike?
I think a similar percentage will ultimately end up there. I think if it were all forced to the north, I think some of the traffic that might make a left out of the site now and then a right onto Westchester Pike might use, you know, a different route. It might, you know, travel down St. Albans Avenue to Winding Way, but I think the percentage would be pretty similar.
I have no further questions for Kevin at this time.
Right. Any additional witnesses or?
At this time, I've asked the board to continue us to the next month. We've been going for 3 straight hours. I do have additional witnesses to call, but I think this might be a good stopping point rather than continuing to move forward with the testimony this evening.
How do we handle? Yeah, so if we're going to be continuing this, for people that are here that want to make public comment, I just want to be very clear that it's public comment. It is not cross-examining. It's not asking questions. We want to open it up if you want to make some remarks. you're open to that, but I'm asking everybody to please be respectful of time and how you handle this. The board still has another application to hear after this as well, so.
Before we start public comment, do you want to announce on the record the specific day that it's being continued to, just so everyone knows?
Say 21st. So May 21st.
May 21st? Same location.
So
Great, thank you very much.
if we're gonna open up for public comment, can everybody please just again be respectful here?
There'll be an
Yeah, and there
opportunity for
will be
public
another
comment.
opportunity then as well for public comment, but you will, yeah.
Yes.
But if anybody's here now and wishes to make public comment,
Yeah, I'll go.
just give your name and address for the record.
Elliot Shalita, ELLIOT, SHALITA. My address is 3550 Woodcrest Avenue, Newtown Square. As a member of the neighborhood that's going to be impacted by this, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm a committee person for the precinct. I have spoken to a number of people in the neighborhood, and I've been here the whole time. I've listened to 3 whatever hours of testimony. And I heard both Ms. Weiss and Mr. Savage mention that the character of the neighborhood wouldn't be affected. And so if I'm not permitted to ask questions directly, I'm going to speak to the board directly and say that's one of the things I think, if I'm not wrong, we're supposed to be watching out for. And I question whether or not the character of a neighborhood is defined as easily as traffic volume, courtesy gaps, or delay time. I'd like to know, and I would have asked the question, if we live in a residence and a neighborhood, is that how we define the character of our own neighborhoods, by traffic volume? I'd like to ask, did anybody consider the pass-through versus the local traffic? I know it was mentioned. The reality is it's going to be pass-through. A Rite Aid is local. People come pick up their prescriptions at their closest possible pharmacy. A car wash is pass-through. I'd like to ask the question, does anybody know how long a typical sedan or SUV is? How many cars are going to be able to fit before the southern exit, the southern egress starts to be blocked? Anybody who knows human nature knows that as soon as the left turn is blocked, people are going to go to the right. That's what's going to happen. Around St. Albans Avenue, I'd like to ask the question, since the neighborhood truly was not considered by this group, as far as I can tell, at least so far, did anybody consider the bus stops that are at the corner of I didn't hear Woodcrest Avenue mentioned a single time. There are kids crossing the street 8 times a day. And there's going to be people not from the neighborhood who are driving down St. Albans. I've spoken to the people in the apartments on St. Albans. They tell me people going 40 miles an hour down St. Albans Avenue. And I've personally witnessed twice people blow the bus stop sign. We're going to have people going down roads and through Brookside to get out on Bryn Mawr. The people who Mr. Savage implied that 15% are going to head into the circle, the other 85%. I'd like to ask him the question. I heard him say the numbers. It wasn't clear how he came up with them. And then when you look at his table, it's figure, sorry, 1 second. It's figure 9, which is the percentages. That when the 85% come southbound to Westchester Pike, he has slightly over half of them turning eastbound onto Westchester Pike. Now, I have no idea why half would be going that way. There's a car wash in that direction, only 1.4 miles away, and there are no intersections between the 2 car washes to pick up traffic. It's not like excuse me, people are gonna come up Media Line Road and go, I can turn this way to go to Suds, or I can turn this way to go to L. There's not enough traffic on Media Line for that. Anybody to the east of Sproul Road and 320 are gonna choose Suds. And so the people who pick L Car Wash are gonna be heading westbound. And if they're heading westbound, and here's another question. How long is a car? 15 feet. How long's an SUV? 20 feet. We have about 7 cars before the egress to Westchester Pike is effectively blocked. That's just the truth. And so when people see they can't go westbound on Westchester Pike, or they want to head north on 252, every single last one of them is going to take Chapel Avenue and find out they can't make a left, and they're going to start doing illegal, the non-neighborhood people are going to go out Chapel and find out they can't make a left, and they're going to cause all sorts of problems. I see the people making U-turns heading northbound on 252 at Winding Way. I go to the shops on Winding Way on the commercial side. We just put those up. There's a right turn only sign coming out of the shops, all the restaurants. I was there this morning. I watched 5 cars, 2 go straight across this way, 2 go straight across that way, and 1 make a left. Nobody follows that rule. They go the way they want to go, that's most convenient for them. And 90% of us or more, and I hate to admit it myself, I do it too. When time is short and I'm not in my neighborhood, sometimes I take a shortcut, and I'm not worried about the kids, and I'm not worried about the traffic, and I'm not worried about the neighbors because it's not my neighborhood. So we have, we're going to have people going down St. Albans to Winding Way. It is as obvious as the sun rises in the east that is what is going to happen. And somebody who uses a bunch of number crunching and says 85-15 with no data whatsoever no hard data whatsoever to back it up. Everybody who lives here, Eric, 18 years, 16 years, we've seen the traffic patterns, 33 and on and on. And look, that's why I wanted to be able to ask Mr. Edelman and Mr. Savage questions. You know, I'm a neighborhood representative. If they have the courage, and I'll say it to both of you right now, I'll be back on May 21st. If you want to give me permission to ask you these questions and have them answered, I'm going to be taking it back to the neighborhood. I'm going to tell every single person in my precinct, whether you answer the questions or not, whether you choose not to answer them, whether you choose to duck the questions from the people who live there. So you'll have that opportunity. I hope you'll permit it if they'll let me. But I promise all of you who are associated with this car wash, every single person in the neighborhood is going to know what you choose to do. And if this winds up going further, we will follow you further to try to stop it if you don't work with us. If you can answer the questions to our satisfaction, we're on board. At least the neighborhood is. I can't speak for the township or the board. But right now, you do not have the neighborhood. You don't have the neighborhood. You don't have I haven't found a single person who wants that car wash. And I went around door to door and I asked. I tell you the truth, I can't find a single one. So that's going to be your opportunity next month. I hope you'll give me permission if they accept my challenge, as it were. And I'll be back next month. Thank you very much for your time.
I'm gonna be real quick. It's Eric Peter again. Should I give this to you guys now?
If you want to do that, turn your time.
Okay, because I figured you'd let you look at. All right, well, I just want one quick comment is never in my dreams, reality, or nightmares have I ever envisioned sitting at the dinner table and saying to my wife, gee, honey, I hope they put a car wash in the neighborhood. Thank you very much.
Any additional public comment or? All right. See everyone on
Thank you for your time tonight.
May 21st. Thanks, everyone.
You need a ride? No, I can get it on that. I'm gonna go. I got him. I'll take him. Okay.
So we're gonna get you out of here.
really screwed you tonight, huh?
Vince, go easy on us.
No, I'll be here for this one. I mean, on the 23rd. Yeah.
We gotta get Sam back in here. I think we should set the timer.
Yeah, can we take like?
Yeah, go ahead, go. Just a quick bathroom break. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
It doesn't include okay. If it may please the board, my name is Vince Mancini. I'm here this evening representing MEA Investments, LLC. The principal is Mr. Michael Appel. The property is 6 Springton Point Drive, Newtown Township. And basically, we were originally seeking 2 special exceptions. We're down to 1. To make it very simple, the client has, he had to leave and he said, withdraw the first application. I said, that was the fun one. Or the first special exception for the garage and the renovation.
Can we go put the evidence into the record?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just jumped right into it. So is the file in order?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, this is,
No,
they threw me off because of their side conversation over there.
Sorry,
so-
sorry. We have in the file, we both have we have the legal notice that was sent to the surrounding properties. We have the legal notice that was in the paper. We also have the list of all of those all the addresses that it was sent to. And then it is turned over. And yes, so the file's in order. I'm sorry.
Chairman, based on the representation of the township manager with regard to this matter, I would ask that the application and accompanying documents, the exhibits that were presented by the applicant be marked as township exhibit number 1. List of residents within 200 feet of the subject property who were notified. It's hearing be marked as township exhibit number 2. Proofs of publication of 2 consecutive weeks of publication in the Delaware County Daily Times be marked as exhibit number 3, and the photograph of the posting of the notice provision property marked as township exhibit.
They are admitted. All right, is there anyone here for public comment or party protestant? All right, all yours.
Thank you. If it may please the board, I won't repeat my name and the client again, but it involves, the original application involved 2 requests for special exceptions. One involved the utilization of the 2nd floor of the existing garage to be renovated and used for a professional office building. Had my legal arguments all cleverly put together and ready to go, but the client has withdrawn that application. So the only thing we are going to address this evening, or I'm officially withdrawing the application on behalf of the client on the record. And the only remaining special exception is basically is for the modification of the impervious ground coverage from the existing impervious ground coverage to a lesser ground coverage. And the only reason that we're here for that, we're actually reducing impervious coverage is because Mr. Rexick indicated, and correctly so, your ordinance requires a special exception even when you change a non-conforming use to a more restrictive situation. In this particular instance, I have one witness, and that's Mike here tonight. He is a registered architect, and he's and he's the project manager for the site. Mr. Appel and the applicant has bought the 6 Springton Point, which is a residential property in the R1 district. It's got a substantial home on there, including a freestanding garage, which again is not the issue tonight. And basically, what's happening is that the internal work to renovate the dwelling has gone on, and basically the board can see what the extent of and the scope of that work by taking a look at exhibits 3A through
Route 3J, these are all photographs of ongoing work at the dwelling and in the dwelling, which again is proceeding under permit, and it's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. The house is a substantial house. It's about 3,900 square feet footprint. So that's close to 7,800 total square feet, first and second floor. And basically, what is being done outside is the subject of tonight's application, and that involves his desire to put a pool in there to better the value of the property and basically reduce and remove larger impervious coverage that knocks down the impervious coverage by about 2,000, almost 2,000 square feet, which is added as green space. And basically, the house and the development was the subject of basically a plan of subdivision for Springton Point approved June 18, 1986, lot 40. So the subdivision plan is attached as Exhibit 2A. The deed of the property is attached as Exhibit 2. The application without exhibits is attached as Exhibit 1, and the photos are 3J. I also attached Exhibit 4 is the professional curriculum vitae of Michael Cosentino, PE, and the site plan that he has prepared. Mr. Cosentino is known to the township. He's well versed in these type of projects. He can design and put in simplified stormwater management facilities, and he can, do basic site plans as an architect to calculate impervious coverage and the amount and compare and contrast those impervious coverages. If you look at the site plan, he's going to testify from that. And basically, his basic testimony is, look, there's nothing being added here by way of impervious coverage. No building is being increased in size, either laterally, footprint, or vertically. And the only thing we're doing at this particular time is reducing the total impervious ground coverage. And that there's absolutely no impact on the standards for special exception, adverse impact, that we satisfy all of the requirements that's stated in the ordinance. And I can go through it with them, but I think you.
Vince, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Thank you. My understanding from this is the 25% maximum impervious surface. He's currently has 30.8%.
Correct.
Correct? He's reducing that
Yes, he is.
with this activity to 28.5%.
Correct.
Okay? I would make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move all the exhibits into evidence.
Done.
Thank you.
Easiest testimony I ever had to do.
Thank you, wait for that.
That's my after 10 PM style.
Mike strikes again.
Gave at the end of the one.
He put me up to it.
Speech, yeah. We were just.
Oh, it's here. You're already exaggerating it. He's sleeping.
You're gonna need all this stuff again on the other.
I don't know, that's what I was just thinking.
I don't think you're gonna get another packet out of the guy.
Yeah.
Do it on paper.